You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, hello everyone and welcome in. Wow, we are on a number of different platforms tonight, and the momentum is continuing here on the network. More and more people are coming in every Saturday night, and we're so glad for that, because what that shows us is more and more people are leaving the Watchtower organization. They have had enough. Well, we've got Roland Smith. He's a former Jehovah's Witness. And we got Chad Burns. They're coming in with their program tonight. And they're going to be talking about all of the kingdom halls that are being sold off. And what does it mean? And what's going on around the world with that? Are people upset? Well, they're going to be talking about that tonight. And they'll be joined, I'm sure, by many people who want to call in and voice their concerns. So let me bring Roland and let me bring Chad on right now. And there they are, the dynamic duo. Hello, guys.
Everybody. Hi, everybody.
Howdy, y'all.
So from what I understand, you guys are doing a program tonight all about the kingdom halls being sold off. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, we're going to talk about the kingdom halls being sold off, but also the work that went into building them in the first place. You know, a lot of them were probably built in weekends. They used to call them quick builds. We're going to be discussing the effort that went into that as well.
Well, Roland, I've got a picture here. Sometime during the broadcast, I'll bring it up. As a matter of fact, it's over in your neck of the woods. And what really got me thinking, it's in a town called Tewksbury, England.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. So do you know what Tewksbury is over there?
Yeah. I've never been there, but I know where it is. I know of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it got my attention. They spell it a little bit different, but they still pronounce it Tewksbury. This is an English name here. But I got it. There's a Kingdom Hall over there that got sold off, and they were going to build a better hall. And one particular witness, he donated $10,000 to the new hall, and they never built it, and he wants his money back. So later on. So later on in the program, we'll bring that up if you want to see the hall and what have you. So I'll cut myself loose here and let you guys go at it. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Okay, sounds good. Right. Well, how are you, Chad?
I am doing great. And I tell you what, I was kind of nervous about the assignment for the topic tonight, but I started doing a little research last night, and boy, did I get sucked into that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more to all this than meets the eye. The kingdom hall, the big kingdom hall sell off. I mean, every time I look online, I'm seeing kingdom halls going on up for sale. You can go on to websites with estate agents all over the world. You can see kingdom halls going up for sale. I'm on a website called Kingdom Halls for Sale, which I mean, there's just new halls all the time, you know, going up for sale, and it just makes you wonder what's going on. Where's all the money going when they've sold them? And I think we're going to discuss that tonight, aren't we? So, what have you found then, Chad?
Well, I have found a lot. One of the things I found most interesting is, you know, I come from a secular background and a Christian background also, because now I'm a Christian and I used to be an atheist. But, you know, I was looking at how the buying, building, and selling of kingdom halls work. And if you look at that by itself, it doesn't seem too bad. But then I was also thinking about how churches do the same thing. And if you look at that by itself, it doesn't look bad at all. But if you look at the two compared to each other, what the Watchtower does is just practically criminal. I mean, it's not illegal, but the ethics of it is so horrible. I mean, this is practically like embezzlement. They are robbing the Jehovah's Witnesses blind. And the Jehovah's Witnesses, I feel bad for them because they don't even have a clue So
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
that
they
was
don't.
probably the biggest part. That was the biggest part of what I found. And then the next thing I did was I looked at the prices that Kingdom Halls are selling for, how much it costs to build them, and I started looking at the profit margins, how much money is really being made, if any, on the sale of a Kingdom Hall. And I did some quick math on that, and I tell you what, some of that was very shocking, because it basically, even though it's not illegal, it basically turns into the best real estate scheme I've ever seen.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been looking just recently. I mean, there's been a few different opinions on the pros and cons of selling the Kingdom Halls, why people are thinking that they're selling them, for what reasons. One person mentioned that they thought it was because they'd learned that they could control people on Zoom to a certain extent. You know, they could sell off the Kingdom Halls, which would bring that locked-in revenue that's all out there in those buildings. It's all tied up. They could bring that, make that free, bring that into the Watchtower, into the to the governing body's hands, basically, and still maintain a certain amount of control via Zoom. And to a certain extent, I agreed with them, because they said to a certain extent a little bit more control, because like if you're elderly or if you're poorly, if you're feeling, I don't know, you got flu, but so you're not well enough to drive, I don't know, 20 minutes to your local Kingdom Hall, or not so local as they are now, some of them. And, you drive 20 minutes there, you're not well enough to be driving because, you may be down with flu or whatever. But you've got no reason to not click into Zoom and go on the Zoom meeting and join them in Zoom. So to a certain extent, they've got a little bit more control, because what excuse have you got not to go on Zoom? Not to join in on Zoom. You're in your own home. You've got all your comforts there. So what excuse do you give for not joining? On the other hand, if they did sell off all the Kingdom Halls worldwide, there would be places like, Africa, and places that don't have such good internet connection, may not be able to join on Zoom. They'd lose a lot of followers. So whether they're going to sell them off completely worldwide, I don't know, but they certainly seem to be selling plenty now certainly around Britain and around America and around the world. And I wonder what the motives are behind it. I mean, you've had a few theories on this in the past, so
yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I think what it boils down to is the almighty dollar. When I was doing my research, I was looking at how much, the actual process of building a Kingdom Hall. And what I discovered was they can build a Kingdom Hall. Probably the cheapest would be a steel building. And the total price of that, I mean, property, plumbing, foundation, building, whole kit and caboodle is less than $100,000. I mean, that is very little money for a brand spanking new building.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, by the time it's done being built, you spent about $60,000 on material, but you're getting your labor for free. So what happens is, what would normally cost $150,000, they're paying less than $100,000, and automatically by the time it's finished, the value of it is going to be close to $200,000. And what I'm saying, that's for the cheapest. Now, if they go with a brick building, then it's going to cost them around $150,000 to build, and it's going to be valued at around $400,000 to $500,000. If it's a really nice place, and a lot of them tend to be that way. And I tell you what, the thing that is so messed up is the Watchtower will build the Kingdom Hall, but then they maintain ownership of it, and they have the congregation paying back through donations,
Yeah.
every penny that went into building it.
Oh,
So, I mean, for
absolutely.
them, it's just an investment for them. They buy the real estate dirt cheap. They build the building, and then the congregation uses it, pays it back, and then all the money they get after that goes to paying taxes, and anything left over after paying the taxes and the utilities, that goes right to the Watchtower. So they can
Absolutely.
easily make $20,000, $40,000 a year off of a single Kingdom Hall. And, when that gets to be nickel and diming, after 30, 40 years, they can just shut it down, sell it off, or they can fix it up, sell it off for a pretty penny, maybe make $200,000 to $300,000 on the sale, and then take half of that money and build a better one.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just continually do this. And I did the math on it. If they set for every 50, that's 50 Kingdom Halls that they sell in America, they are making $15 million, 15 million. Okay, that's a lot of money. And I started thinking with this whole thing with the center that they're building for the media, the media center.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, what if they do the same thing with that? Now, let's say they spend $15 million, and at that point, they have built a complete movie studio ready to go. They can use it for 2 to 3 years, make plenty of money off of it. And if things don't work, which I'm telling you now, it's probably not going to work, because in evangelical Christianity, what we found is that television ministry is very, very, very expensive, and the payoff on it is not that great.
Yeah.
So they could end up spending like $20 million on this place, flip it around, 5 or 6 years down the road, and sell it for, $100 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is one big.
And where is that money going to go, Chad? That's what I want to know. You see, the thing, just hold your line of thought there and carry on in a second, but you've just got me thinking, because when I was I was going PMO by this point. Well, I was very PMO by this point. And we'd already moved to a different Kingdom Hall ourselves. We'd sold our Kingdom Hall in the town, which actually was only just up the road from me here. But then I had to travel, 10 miles to get to the 8-10 miles to get to the next Kingdom Hall. We amalgamated with another congregation because they'd been disbanded. It was Saltburn. So Saltburn then become Loftus congregation. So then we went from about 50 members, publishers, ministers, whatever, members of the congregation, to about 150. Now, and then plus we also shared the hall with another congregation, which was Gisborough. Now, when we moved there, we paid off the mortgage because they had a mortgage on that building still to pay from years before, about 10 years it had been built by then. They had a mortgage to pay off. So we took the money from our hall because we had control of it then, what we did with the money. And we paid off their mortgage we paid off that mortgage on that hall. So then the hall belonged to the two congregations. We shared it equally between Gisborough and Loftus. Now, when my ears pricked up, and I was already having doubts, and I was already questioning the organisation for building a massive place down south of England with new printing presses, and they was wanting more money from us for that, and it was costing them millions. They had to clean up the scrapyard and whatever to build it, and it cost them millions to just get rid of the soil, let alone do any building.
Right.
And I was questioning that, and so was one or two others, actually. They were saying, well, why do they need a building that size, new printing presses, if Armageddon's just round the corner? It seemed a bit illogical, to do that when they were saying, oh, well, Armageddon's any day now. It's, in the last minutes of the last hours, whatever nonsense it was. And then all of a sudden they wanted control of the money. They wanted all the money that we had in our account that was being looked after by the elders, the treasurers and stuff. It was being looked after by them. It was, all the repair work for the Kingdom Hall all come out of that money. And then the rest of it went off to them, whatever we had spare used to go off to the Watchtower or whatever it was they wanted it for. And the thing was, they then wanted us to sign over the Kingdom Halls to them. So we had no control over the Kingdom Hall. We had no control over the finance. We had to give all our extra money that we had, which was a few thousand in the bank. We had to give that all to the Watchtower. Somebody had complete control of that. It was all in one account in England. I don't know if it's the same across the world. I presume it is by now, but it certainly was at the time in England. It all went to one account. And I started getting suspicious. I thought, why? Why do they need to change what they've been doing perfectly fine for years? Why do they suddenly need control of the Kingdom Hall? Why do they need that? Complete control of what happens. I mean, there's Kingdom Halls, I know, in Britain and certainly in other parts of the world, I guess, where the air conditioning's broken down in the summer. Everybody's sweating cobs. Nobody can bear the heat. But it's not getting repaired. Well, it would have done in the old days when we had control of the money. It would have been the first thing that would have been done. The heating in some Kingdom Halls has gone off. They're not getting help with that. Some Kingdom Halls gone weeks without heating, I've heard on the grapevine. And there's not, there's nothing being done about that. Well, that would have been a priority, especially for the elderly ones that go. So where is this money going? What are they doing with it? And why are the Kingdom Halls now not getting maintained? I just find it all very, very curious. And my thoughts are, at some point, they're going to do a runner, and they're going to just disappear. And I think they're going to leave it's just my opinion, but I think they're not doing it to put it back into media, because some said, oh, well, they're ploughing it back into the media centre and stuff like that, and, promoting online stuff and what have you. I don't think so. I don't think it's anything to do with that. I think they want complete control of it, because one day they're all going to do a runner with it, and then they're just going to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses high and dry. We might get a video off Stephen Lett saying it's, that he's been raptured, funny you took the suitcase of money with you, Stephen, you know what I mean? But that's the sort of thing I expect from them now. I wouldn't have done in the past, I didn't think they was that crafty, but after all the things I've seen, after all the sneaky ways they go about things, after all the things they've been doing, all the stuff that's been going on online and the various different talks that we've had from conventions, it all smacks of deceit and I just think they're going to do a runner. I really do, and I just feel sorry for the people left over to deal with it. That's Anyway, sorry. Carry on with what you were saying.
Well, no, you bring up some really good points here. Where is all this money going? Now, they can say, well, it's going for the new media center. Okay, like I just pointed out, if they sell off 50 Kingdom Halls, and give or take, let's say the average profit they make is $300,000 on let's say that's what they make off the sale. Well, at that point, if you multiply that by 50 and you sell off 50 Kingdom Halls, that's $15 million. There's a lot you can do with 15 million. And I think to be honest, I think it goes more, it is possible that there's a lot of embezzling going on. Let's just call it what it is. It's possible. I'm not saying that's definitely what's going on, but it is possible because it is a business. It's a corporation. But if they're making that much money, and let's face it, when they build a place, they don't skimp. They build it, usually they build it to last, high quality, everything like that. Well, when you go with that line of thinking, it's like, okay, they're going to spend money on this media center. How much is it really going to cost them? Because I mean, when you look at it, $15 million, that's going to cover probably the price of building the property. The property itself probably cost them, just empty land. They didn't spend probably more than $50,000 to $100,000 on it. And then they build this place up. Then they have to get outfitted, and they're probably going to spend another $2 to $3 million, maybe more, just on outfitting the place with the sets and whatever. And the cameras, they're probably going to use what they call red cameras. It's a brand of camera. They're dirt cheap. They're very high quality. They cost, I say dirt cheap, they're $100,000 a piece.
But cheap as cameras go.
Yeah, but they make some of the best stuff. Hollywood is now using these red cameras because you get such a high quality picture and everything. I mean, they could get 20 red cameras, get the whole place set up, use it for 5 years, say, oh, well, we dumped, say, 30 million into this, and then turn around, well, we're going to have to sell it because, we're not making enough money on it to cover all the finances, when that might be true. But then when they sell it, they're going to sell it for maybe 150 to 250 million dollars.
Yeah.
Where is that going to go? I mean, I was looking long term. I tend to play the long game, look long term, and that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So it's scary to me because the Jehovah's Witnesses, they always have the Watchtower has the Jehovah's Witnesses. They tell them don't get educated, just go into the trades. Yeah. Okay, well, you go into the trades, you're talking about masonry, working with bricks. You're talking about electrical work, plumbing work, roofing. Well, guess what? That works out great if you have a real estate scam going on.
Well, I know. I mean, they must be over the moon. I mean, they've got all these drones helping them out, building the halls for nothing, putting in their own time, often at their own expense, because obviously they're missing secular work. Work of their own to feed their own families. They're leaving their families behind on occasions to go, sometimes even abroad. We've had people go to Eastern Europe to build kingdom halls when I was there. We'd have, and they were roofers and bricklayers and tilers. They would all go over there, sometimes at their own expense. Well, usually at their own expense, flights and everything. They would go and spend the time. They would build the hall. They'd come back and still carry on with their own work, pioneering or whatever it was they was doing here, plus the family duties. And I just think, what a slap in the face for people like that. How on earth are they spinning this to the people that built it? Actually, I mean, I've got a thing here from a few. It's a bit of a long one, but I'll try and be as quick as I can. But it's worth reading because it's from the Watchtower. I think it's 1981, and it says the 2-day miracles, and he's talking about a kingdom hall build. These kingdom halls are not fabricated; they are built of 90% of completion from materials brought to a pre-poured concrete slab. As he now he's talking about somebody driving by. As he drove by a neighbouring field, Bill hardly noticed the cluster of people surrounding the bare wood and block foundation. It was early morning. Little did he realise the shock he would face on his return trip. 4 hours later, as Bill neared the same fields, he saw it. His mouth dropped open. There on top of that foundation stood a building. Though it was not completely finished, it had in place a shingle roof, siding windows. The shock caused him to lose control of his truck. They always love to dramatise stuff. Shock caused him to lose control of his truck as he turned, and it pitched off the road. Very dramatic. Only his quick response kept him out of the ditch. Well, good old Bill. Anyway, Bill saw the beginning stages of a 2-day miracle. A Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses was being built by a swarm. That made me laugh. A swarm, because we call them drones. By a swarm of eager workers who would almost complete it inside and out in just 2 days. Soon the whole town of Grafton, North Dakota, apparently, knew about this feat. They moved in a building during the night, and said one person, impossible, declared another. No, they actually built it. And then it goes on a lot more, sort of nonsense about how people were astonished by it. But then it goes into the amount of 90% usually includes a bricked, fully insulated, air-conditioned building, and occasionally a landscape lot, which, yeah, it normally does. Often it's painted, wallpapered, and decorated with striking hand-painted wall mural, which blends beautifully with the colours of the new carpet. And to be honest, I saw one today for sale, and it really was beautiful inside. It was really nice. They are not prefabricated. No, they're not normally, nor simply thrown up. No, and I mean, they are built to, they give credit where credit due. They certainly know how to build a building and put a slap of paint on. Some have been as large as 60 by 70 feet and able to seat 250. Each has its own design with multiple rooms, including restrooms, a library, and auditorium. There are also fully wired for sound amplification. One in Oklahoma has even a fireplace. Usually they are praised 3 times their original cost and more. So going on what you were saying. So, they're beefing this up, saying how wonderful the brothers were, how they put their time and effort, how they gave it to Jehovah. And, and all the time, I wonder how many of these buildings, I wonder whether that building's still there, to be honest, the one they're talking about in the article. I mean, it makes me wonder. That was 1981, they say they published that, so it could well be sold by now. It just makes me wonder how much of a slap in the face the people who have built them Kingdom Halls feel when their own Kingdom Halls are being sold off, and they put so much time. They're invested in the building. We all were. We was all invested in that building. It was where we met people. It was where we cleaned. It's where we all got together and had meetings. It was, it was our epicenter of activity. And people have got time, and probably a lot of them have been there most of their lives. And then all of a sudden, some of them have gone off, built new Kingdom Halls, and then they've seen them sold. And I just think, what a slap in the face for them. How do they feel about that? I would be sickened if it was me. I really would. And how are they explaining it? How are they spinning this to these congregations that are being sold off? I mean, I've heard them say, oh, well, we're thinking of you, brothers and sisters, we're thinking of the cost and saving you. It's cheaper to run one hall than it is to run 2 and so forth. Well, no, they're not. They're thinking about their cost. They're thinking about them saving money. They don't think about the poor old brother and sister that has to go, a lot further to the local Kingdom Hall. The old dears, in their 80s and 90s, just about managed to get to the local Kingdom Hall. But now they've got to travel miles. They can't always do it, because of ill health or age. Families, on the breadlines, struggling with, in this country, gas and electric is absolutely mad. I believe it is most of the world, but certainly in England, it's gone absolutely crazy. And we've had a cap and it's still mad. And so, and the price of fuel going to the meetings, people haven't got the money to be spending out like that, and it's just, for me, it's just such a backtrack on what they was supposed to be achieving with these quick builds. We're having so much success worldwide, the door-to-door preaching, we've got millions of hours. That means we need more Kingdom Halls. How glorious is that? How wonderful Jehovah is, creating these new opportunities and then all of a sudden they're selling them off. What happened? You know what I mean? What happened? Yeah. Where did all these new people go? Where did all these thousands of people, millions of people that you was supposedly interested in coming along, having Bible studies, coming to the meetings? Where have they all gone? Where's this increase gone? If they think they can sell Kingdom Halls off, that would suggest to me that it's a decrease in people. So what's going on?
Yeah. And another thing to think about is they're not building kingdom halls like they used to, but boy, they sure are selling them off quick. And in the meantime, what is happening to all the Jehovah's Witnesses? I know for me, my local kingdom hall, you know, after the years I spent fighting against them, my local kingdom hall shut down. And then I found out, well, they have to go to a different city. And then I started looking, and come to find out, around just in my county, 3 kingdom halls have closed, and all those people have now consolidated into 1 kingdom hall, and each town has to drive between 20 and 40 minutes to get to their kingdom hall now.
Yeah.
Mine being the closest, mine being a 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's just insane, because and now they have 1 kingdom hall instead of like 4, and they used to be expanding. Now they're just selling them off. They're selling them off quicker than they were building them. And the build rate, it's like for every, I'm just guessing with this, but I'm guessing that for every 8 to 10 that they close down, they build 1 new one, if that. If that. So I mean, like, where's it all going? The money, we know where the people are going. They're going into the poorhouse, because now they have to pay to travel to get to their kingdom hall.
Well, yeah, precisely. I mean, we sort of had to sell our kingdom hall in the town when I was there, because it was only a small kingdom hall, and to be honest, it was always needing repairing and stuff. So I was all for selling it, but I was not all for going to the kingdom hall that we went to, because then we had to travel miles, and lots of people from that kingdom hall didn't drive, to be honest with you. Some of them were elderly, infirm, some had health issues why they couldn't drive. I couldn't drive myself for a little while because I had health issues. I had to rely on people taking me, and it's such a bind, you know, whereas before I could just walk up the road. And I'm sure many people across the world in different towns and states and countries are finding this themselves, you know, that they was quite happy going to the kingdom hall, quite close to them. It was quite handy for them. They could get there even if it was, you know, reasonably bad weather. You know, now they're having to travel miles, often can't get through for snow and stuff, especially at the kingdom hall where I went. It's up this hill, and it's a really narrow road, and we get really bad snow up here in the north of England at times. Really bad snow drifts, you know, and it gets quite high. Lots of places get cut off, you know, and that was one of them. And so the meetings, often we didn't have meetings for 2 or 3 weeks because the conditions weren't fit to drive there. But when we had the hall in our own town, we still managed to have a meeting because there was enough people going to hold it, you know, that could get there. But it must be the same now for these people who lost the kingdom hall's been sold. You know, they've devoted the time and effort to keep it upkeep of them. They've devoted the time and effort to being there, and now they're just told, oh well, you know, you got to go 20 minutes, 30 minutes up the road, you know, 20 mile up the road, you know, 15 mile, whatever. You know, I mean, it must be a blow to them. I mean, it must be hard work, and I mean, and I just think, well, why would you do that? If you love your brothers, you love your sisters, and you love the congregation, if the governing body truly care for them like they say they do, why would they do that? And the reason being is because they don't care about them. All they are to them is just, you know, drone number 55 or drone 100, well, you know, 9,055,000, whatever it is, you know. They don't care about the people. They've got no interest. It's a business, like you say. I mean, they've said it. They've stated in the past that that's what it was, a business. And I mean, they must be laughing all the way to the bank. You know, you've got all these people giving their time and service, thinking they're doing it for Jehovah. And then all of a sudden, Jehovah says, oh, hang on, actually, we don't need these kingdom halls now. Well, what happened? You know, I mean, 1 minute you're saying Jehovah's like extending the work, and he's making all these new builds happen, and that just shows how they're on the right track, and they're the only true religion because they're building more and more halls. and now they're selling them off. Well, what's being a bit quiet about it now? And I just think it's awful. I'm just wondering about viewers listening in it. I mean, what are they spinning? If your Kingdom Hall's being sold, if you're listening in, or your old Kingdom Hall, or if you're PMO and you're still going, your Kingdom Hall's been sold off, or it's been being sold off. What's the spin? What are they telling you? Why do they say that they need to sell it off, and how is it going to benefit you as a brother? Because they will have spun it somehow to say that, it's benefiting them, or it's benefiting Jehovah. When in actual fact, the only people it's benefiting is Stephen Lett and all the rest of them. With the gold watches and the Rolexes and the tailored suits, and that's where the money's going. And the trouble is, a lot more of it's going to go before long, and it's just going to disappear. And I tend to wonder if they realise the tide is turning. There's governments going against them. They're losing tax and charity status, such as Norway and various other places. Britain's starting to get a little bit aware of them now. There's been one or two things popping up occasionally. People are starting to question them a bit. People are going online and they can debunk the JW doctrine right from 1800. They can see the changes. I think that's had a big effect, because it wasn't because they went to Zoom that they didn't have the control over people. It was because people were in lockdown. They weren't working. They had time to research, and that's what a lot of people did, including myself, in the first lockdown. And they gave them time to sort of just maybe see certain discrepancies, which made them more curious, and maybe they started looking. And to me, there seems to be a lot less witnesses about since the lockdown than there was before, and I think they have lost control because of that, and I think that's panicking them a bit, and so I think they're just seeing the tide turning. They're thinking now's the time to take control, sell up, and they'll give it a few years, they'll be gone, and then we'll have some kind of announcement that they've been raptured, so yeah. Where in actual fact they'll be on a be on seafront property somewhere on some island, living in high life, with all the JW's money, Well, that's my personal belief, but
Yeah.
So anyway, what the viewers?
Definite possibility.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the viewers are thinking. Have you got any thoughts on it? What's your take on it, Rick? You had some thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, what it is, I mean, I do the news every week here and monitor the Jehovah's Witnesses and all the Kingdom Halls that are being sold off. And I did come across a hall, I guess it's probably not too far from you, Roland, but it's in Tewksbury, England. Now, I live in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. All of the towns up here, of course, they are named after English towns and cities. So I live in Tewksbury here. So there is a Tewksbury, England, but there was a Kingdom Hall in Tewksbury, England that was sold off recently. And they were going to, what they wanted to do is they wanted to sell the Kingdom Hall. I'm going to put a picture up here so you guys can see it. There it is there. That's a beautiful hall, all brick building.
It certainly is.
Yeah, so they were going to sell that off. They said they were going to build a newer one. Now, that's a beautiful looking hall to me. I don't know why they wanted to sell it off. But what they did is they sold that, collected the money, and also they wanted more money from the brothers and sisters, I guess, to build a bigger one, to have a number of other congregations, from what I understand, go there. So they, solicited from the congregations more money. We need more money. And so this one particular brother at the time, he was pretty loyal to the Watchtower. He gave him £10,000. That's $10,000 equal to United States dollars.
Yeah.
And consequently, they never built a hall.
No.
So he's all upset about it. So he contacted the charity committee, and they're looking into it, but it's against the law for a religious organization or any organization that is collecting money for a specific purpose. And in this case, it was a specific purpose. The congregation was collecting money to build a new hall. So he forthrightly came and gave them the money. And now he's saying, wait a minute, he's not a witness anymore, but he's saying, that's £10,000 that went south on me. I want it back. So he's now suing. I guess the Watchtower in the United Kingdom, from what I get here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tewkesbury is it's a really well off area of Britain. Actually, it's a really nice town. It's quite historic. And I mean, it is. I mean, in this country, I mean, people have been put in prison for less. Claim for a charity or for something for a charity, such as a church or a Kingdom Hall or something else, and they haven't done it. They've swanned off with the money, and they've been in prison for it. You can face sort of up to 5 years for something like that in this country. If not longer. So certainly, probably for 5 years. So.
Well, the thing is, too, Roland. Right now, even in America, right here. There's a number of kingdom halls that the overseers, the elders, are getting ticked, and they are beginning to say that this isn't fair. And they're saying that, the brothers and sisters worked hard to give their money to save up to build a new hall. And sometimes it took years. And the brothers and sisters, many of them pledged so much a month that they would give to the new building project. And so some of these halls landed up with, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 in the bank and ready to build a new Kingdom Hall. Then the Watchtower said, well, we're not going to do it. We're just going to have you go meet with this other congregation. And this is really beginning to tick some of the brothers off because it's not fair. It's not fair. In life, in Roland and Chad, I got to tell you, there are more incidents right now of corruption, not only, in our government, we all know that, but this Watchtower organization is just getting away with stuff that they should be investigated for. But the problem is the people are so loyal, whatever the Watchtower tells them, they just, go in the corner and don't say anything else. But now they're getting so many people ticked off. There are some people coming forth and saying enough is enough.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've heard murmurings myself through the grapevine. Even within this country, there's I mean, I still have contact with a couple of people that that they're PMO as well, sort of thing in this country, but they still go to the meetings. They still let me know what's going on occasionally. They're getting a bit ticked off with all this. Because there seems to be also, they're always asking for money. They're saying, because I've had Stephen Lett recently asking for money, and and why are they constantly asking for money? Because they've got shares in stocks and shares. I mean, they've got loads of them. I mean, we spoke about them before. I mean, Lockheed Martin. I mean, arms weapon. I mean, people are becoming wise to them, and they're starting to see all this, and they're starting to ask questions. Well, hang on a minute. Why are you investing in worldly companies? Why you got shares in worldly companies when you're telling us to stay away from it? Why are you selling Kingdom Halls when we're supposed to be growing? The work is supposed to grow and it's supposed to expand, and the membership is supposed to go up according to their theory of the last days. That's when the end will come, because that's according to them. We're going to be, well, not we, but not me anymore, but the JWs are going to be, that's when they're going to be at the strongest, because, because of the preaching the worldwide work as they go on. Oh, the only ones go door to door. Well, actually, they're not. But the point is, it's funny because my church, the one I go to, which is actually just down the road from me, it's quite handy. We've actually had a growth of people coming in, since COVID, and we've had quite a lot of success. Just randomly speaking to people, they've come in. We've got twice the congregation now that I had when I first started there. And it's funny that that's growing, yet the Kingdom Halls and the membership of the JW seems to be going down year on year. So, it makes you think that some are waking up, but unfortunately, some of them, like you say, Rick, are so loyal and so brainwashed that they just can't see they can't see for looking sometimes, I don't think.
Yeah.
Have we got any sorry, have we got any callers? Anybody wants to make a comment? Come in, just speak up. We're listening.
They're now saying that if you give them money, that'll make you Jehovah's friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Hello there.
Rowan?
All right, go ahead.
Rowan? Yeah, just Dick Boogie. Just a quick thought, and I've mentioned this many times on Six Screens, but the Kingdom Hall that I helped build and donated to was in Drake, Massachusetts, and we had a dedication, and a governing body member who was of the anointed came and did the dedication of that Kingdom Hall, and all the money that was collected from the brothers donating to the Kingdom Hall. That Kingdom Hall has now been sold to some Episcopalian church or something like that, but that Kingdom Hall has a big crucifix on it right now. A building that was dedicated to Jehovah God now has a big crucifix on it, and all the money that was sold, that they got from the sale of that Kingdom Hall, went into the coffers of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Thank you, Roland.
Oh, thank you very much, caller. You've actually brought up a good point there, because I was going to actually say about some of the people that, or some of the organisations that these Kingdom Halls are being sold to. And you're right. I mean, I've seen one or two turn into mosques. I've seen some turn into Hindu temples. And like you say, some have been turned into Christendom churches, as they would call them, and have a great big cross outside. Well, that must smack of the ones that built that hall or whatever. They must be thinking to themselves, well, hang on a minute. When we built it, it was because Jehovah was furthering the work. We was going from strength to strength. We needed the Kingdom Halls because of the growth, and it was showing Jehovah how wonderful Jehovah's was supporting them and everything, and these halls were sort of a symbolic of that. And now they've got Hindus and great big crosses up outside. Well, what's that symbolic of? So yeah, you bring up a good point there. I mean, it must be a shock for these witnesses to see a massive cross outside their old Kingdom Hall. I mean, to me, if I was a Jehovah's Witness and I still thought the same way as I did, I'd be thinking to myself, well, that's blasphemy. You've done exactly what, we're told not to do, not to associate with the world, not to give them any foothold. And yet there you are, giving them selling them a Kingdom Hall, which is ideal for worship. False worship in this case, according to them. I mean, of course, so it must get them thinking, surely. I mean, it would make me question it. Even in my true blue days, I think I would still start questioning that, So I don't know. It's a very odd thing. Sorry, go on, caller.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. To what I alluded to a second ago. If you are an elder and you don't want to give up your Kingdom Hall to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and you fight it, they will delete you. You could have 40 years in as an elder, make all the meetings, knock on doors all the time. You could be exemplary as a Jehovah's Witness elder. Once you tell the Watchtower, no, I don't think I want this Kingdom Hall that I'm the presiding overseer of, I don't think we want to take the money from the brothers and give it to the governing body, you will be deleted. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, good point. Yeah, go on, Chad.
Yeah, and, Dick brought up just a really good point. This is another fear tactic, because what does it say, or what's it going to do to your ego? Because, the elders tend to have a pretty big ego about their position because it's so important and everything. So if you're an elder and your Kingdom Hall gets sold out from underneath you and you're told, oh, well, you're no longer an elder and this is the new congregation you're going to have to travel to go to. Number one, that's got to be a big hit to the ego. Number
yeah.
two, the people who put in their money, their time, and their effort to build the place up to what it is, it's a slap in their face. And you know, when I was looking at this, what it boils down to is within the Watchtower, the individual Kingdom Hall has no autonomy. You know,
No.
they have no independence. They are at the mercy of the governing body. And it doesn't matter what the congregation wants. It doesn't matter what the elders want. And that's one of the things in my studies today and last night, because I just started studying this last night. One of the things I came across is most churches in Christendom have what they call a congregational form of government or a congregational polity. That means that the congregation makes the decisions whether they're going to buy or sell or build or expand. But with the Watchtower, it doesn't work like that in the Kingdom Halls.
Oh no,
so it
no.
makes it really hard to build, you know, to really set down roots and stuff like that. But you know what? You'll never see a Kingdom Hall where the congregation gets to decide what's best for them based upon their abilities, their needs, their financial situation, etc. You'll never see that kind of independence.
Oh no,
You'll
absolutely
never
not.
see
I mean,
any autonomy.
no, I mean, in the old days, we would have a vote on different things. You know, if we was going to buy something, or if we was going to sell something, or if I don't know, whatever it was. If we needed to send money to the worldwide work for some reason, because they've been asking, you know, for more for some reason, or whatever it was. If it was making a donation, it was coming out of the congregation collection and the bank account. Then we would have a vote on it. Now, it was a bit of a sham vote, because I mean nobody was going to vote against whatever, you know.
Right.
So we put it forward that we send so and so money to the Watchtower Society for such and such a reason. You know, everybody showed their hands. It was supposed to be a theocratic sort of decision between all of us, but it wasn't because the decision had already been taken by the elders. But at least it was the elders that was running that hall that was making that decision to a certain extent. Obviously they weren't going to say no to the governing body if they wanted something, but they did the best, you know. They would send it, but at least it was out them, well, that hours at the time when I was there to send, you know. It was all, you know. And now I would imagine that, you know, even if they did get a vote on something, it'd be the same thing anyway. You know, it's already been taken care of. It's already been decided. It doesn't matter what anybody, even if nobody voted for it, you'd still go ahead. But everybody's going to put their hands up and say, "Oh yeah, even, you know, so we're going to sell the Kingdom Hall. Everybody in favour? Well, they would still do it anyway, even though they wouldn't want to, because if they didn't put their hand up, you know, they would be singled out, and there'd be, you know, and you know, next thing you know, oh, you know, you're not working as part of a theocratic team, and blah 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 blah, you know, and a brotherhood, and you know, and it's you know, Jehovah is asking for this, you know. No, he's not. You know what I mean? You know, it's not nothing to do with Jehovah, is it, mate? You know, it's like, you know. So I just. Yeah, I just don't think that, you know, that any Jehovah's Witnesses had any ever part in real decisions. But the point is, at least they did have an attachment to the building. You know, they did. It was somewhere where they went. Sorry, is there a caller there? Go ahead, caller. No,
I don't think so.
No, maybe just someone left the mic.
You know what, though? The fact that Tower Society, their corporations own all the Kingdom Halls, that's really a good thing for the victims, because now the victims, if they ask for punitive damages, it can be based on a percentage of their worldwide net value.
That's true.
There is that, of course, but then, you know, it makes me wonder, you know, if that's part of the reason that they are selling these halls, because they are, some of it's going on damages and stuff like that. But I think also, are they smelling the tide turning? Are they thinking to themselves, yeah, go on, Chad, sorry.
Yeah, I was just thinking, with all the money now being deposited into the single bank account, wherever it is, and it just clicked in my head, and I know I said that's right. No, actually that's wrong, but here's why. On paper, okay, I'm talking legally, on paper, each Kingdom Hall is an individual nonprofit corporation. And while, yeah, the punitive damages could be a percentage, if all that money is being sent to New York and it's out of the jurisdiction of that state which created the nonprofit status for that Kingdom Hall, that money can't be touched if it's being sent to New York. So while a Kingdom Hall used to be able to have, a bank account with maybe $40,000 in it, now they're told keep it down to a minimum. Well, yeah, they keep it to a minimum because if they do get sued, they're only going to lose a percentage of that amount of money that they have in their account.
Yeah, but they don't just sue the local Kingdom Hall. They sue the world headquarters. And if you look at the attorneys that did it years ago, their strategy was to argue alter ego. In other words, that everybody knows the governing body controls everything worldwide. So that means their whole net worth is what should be valued.
Right. And my whole thing is, if they are taking that money and it's all being filtered into New York, if New York is filtering it to a bank account in Switzerland or the Cayman Islands into an offshore bank account, then the United States has no idea what's in that bank account, and they could be keeping, only X amount of money in their American bank account in New York. And I mean, that's just a huge hit as to what could happen for punitive damages.
They were caught smuggling some money into Canada a few years ago.
Oh, there you go.
There you go with my theory of what legally could be going on.
Yeah, and also the shares. I mean, they could be sticking more money into shares, and I don't know how that stands legally. If somebody's suing you and all you've got is shares, how much of that would be taken into account, or would it be taken into account? I don't know. You see, so they could plough a lot of the money that they're selling off the Kingdom Halls. They could plough it into shares. You can soon, to a certain extent. Anyway, not all of it, of course, but they could plough a lot of it into things like that. And would that show as profit or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, but too, they can't hide their property, their real estate in Switzerland. Right. Their net worth is every Kingdom Hall worldwide, every assembly hall, every piece of property like that they own. It counts up into, I guess, into the billions.
Yeah. What's your take on it, Rick? Are you there, Rick?
I'd like to make a comment, if I could.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead, Susan.
There's a couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, they acted like they were doing the brothers a favor by doing the snaky thing with saying, we're going to take over your payments of the Kingdom Hall. You don't have to pay your mortgage anymore. And all you have to do is sign your Kingdom Hall over to the Watchtower, and we'll take care of everything. But brothers, please, whatever you were giving every month to the bank, please continue donating it to Jehovah and the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. So that was really misleading to the brothers. A poor congregation in the Watchtower, with all their brilliance, taking over their mortgage payments, they jump at it. But what they don't realize is they're really agreeing to a perpetual mortgage. When you buy a home, you wouldn't say, the bank wouldn't say to you, well, you're going to have a perpetual mortgage, and you're going to pay us forever and ever until we say stop. So they really misled And another thing too, if you think, they always try to go back to Jewish customs because the Watchtower is big on the Old Testament. I have never heard of a temple ever being sold. And if it was sold, would the Jews ever have let sell it to the people who worship Molech? And now that temple is now going to be a Molech temple? They would never even consider doing that. But the Watchtower sells these buildings off to whomever has the money because their money's green and they'll take money from anybody. And I know for a fact my Kingdom Hall in the Chicago area, we sold it to the Muslims.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So that's my feeling on the matter. Yeah,
thanks, Susan. Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's you wouldn't get temples being sold or whatever to a different to pagan religions or whatever, would you? In the past, if the temple in Jerusalem was tainted by various rulers and stuff, when God acted, it was like, get all that stuff out of my temple, basically. Jesus, the way he reacted in the temple when they was making it a den of thieves and money launderers, etc., he had righteous rage and justice. He was acting in righteous justice to whip them and to throw them out because he was making his father's temple a thing of, well, it was immoral, wasn't it? It was, So they make a big thing about the kingdom halls being temples of God. They, we don't go in there and don't conduct business of any kind. We don't sort of between the brothers and sisters. We wait until we get outside. Well, I mean, you do if you're doing it properly. And so, I mean, I have the same attitude with my church. I won't do business inside my church for the same reason. And yet they then go and sell it off to a what they class as a false religion, Christendom, or the Scarlets and the, Babylon the Great. And I mean, what does that say? Does it say Babylon the Great's overcoming Jehovah's religion? I mean, I don't know what it's saying really, but it's not a good advert when you spent all that time building that hall and putting the effort in and cleaning it, and then a few years later there's a great big cross outside, or a mosque, or a load of Hindus going in, or whatever it is, a bingo hall come to that, somewhere where they're gambling or whatever, whatever it is, they've just sold a temple of God for that reason. And to me, that is absolutely wrong. And I just find it disgusting. And people say to me, Roland, why do you go on about what's it got to do with you? You know what I mean? If we're selling the kingdom halls, that's what I go to JW. What's it got to do with you? What's it matter to you? You're not even there anymore. Well, I'll tell you why it matters to me, because they are taking them for mugs. They are walking over them. They are trampling them. They've got no say in it whatsoever. They've got no control over their lives. They've got no control over what happens in the kingdom halls with the money that they donate. They're milking old dears for the properties, trying to get them to sign them over before they die or whatever. Leave them to the kingdom hall, leave them to the society, the organisation as it is. Make sure you sort of, give us everything. And even after you're dead, we still want more. We want your house. So, and it's all supposed to be for Jehovah. And yet then they're selling these same places to false religion. Well, to me, that just is it really is a slap in the face. And I do not. It's the brothers and sisters I feel sorry for, because they're the ones that are paying for all this. They're the ones giving their time and effort, and the governing body are just taking them for absolute mugs. And that's what Stephen let
You know what? That thrills me to death that the governing body is doing that. And would you like to know why?
Why is that?
That might be the only way that my daughter would ever wake up, her and her husband and all of her in-laws, if that was happening to their local kingdom hall, that they poured all the money in, because they've got such a high position now. I think that might be the only way that would wake them up.
Yeah, Yeah, well, there you go. You see exactly what I'm saying. You know, people are going to be seeing this. The brothers and the sisters within the congregations are going to be seeing all these things being sold. They can't get away from it now. It's all over. It's all over social media. You see the Kingdom Halls up for sale, left, right, and centre. Their own Kingdom Halls are being sold left, right, and centre. You know, they can't. They just can't get away from the fact that, you know, it's happening, and these, you know, they're being lied to, they're being mugged off, and to have that sort of connection to that Kingdom Hall, then just have it thrown into the hands of what they class as false religion. And I just find it's, you know, a lot of people are going to start thinking about this, and they're going to start waking up, and they're going to say, well, hang on a minute, you know, this isn't Jehovah's word. This isn't Jehovah instructing them to sell these places. This is the governing body, and they're up to something. And the minute they asked us to sign our Kingdom all over to the, I think it was one bank in that covered the whole of Britain. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. And when we handed the deeds over to the Watchtower and what have you, you know, I just thought then, I thought, no, there's something going on here. There's more to this. They're not doing this for the brothers. They're not doing it for to help the brothers or the sisters, or to, you know, to help save costs and put the money into other things within the organization to help the further the work. They're not doing it for that. They're doing it because they want to siphon the cash off, and it's all going, you know, eventually they're the ones that's going to win. Nobody else is going to win. You know, and hopefully things like this will wake people up, and they always say something good comes out of something bad, and maybe this is what they need to be, basically a bit of a slap in the face, because it is a slap in the face. You know, I mean, Stephen Lett and all the others, they're taking them for a ride, and this is why I care. This is why I call it out, because I care about the individual Jehovah's Witnesses that are being conned, being given their lives, their dedication to the service. They've been there week in, week out, a lot of them every week, very rarely ever missing meetings, chipping in with the gardening, cleaning. You know, some of them have built these halls themselves with their own hands, and they've put their time and skills into it, just to be ripped off by the governing body. And this is why I stayed, because it's not to do with God. It's nothing to do with Jehovah. It's them. It's a business. It's greed. And until they fall, until the Watchtower itself crumbles, I will keep calling them out, and I will call them out on various different things. But this is something quite close to my heart, because I just think it is such a slap in the face, and I think it really shows them up for what they are. So,
yeah, and I just want to add to that and say, to any Jehovah's Witness that's watching now or is going to watch this later, you may think, well, Roland is an apostate and Chad's just an opposer. And I just want to reiterate the fact, we love the Jehovah's Witness. We hate the Watchtower. We love you as a person, but we hate what that organization is doing to you. We see value in you and in the things you've done, and we would in no way try to make light of that. We just think it's very, even though we are completely opposed to the Watchtower, we think, you know, we're defending you at this point, and we're saying what they've done to you is wrong. And I hope anyone who watches or is listening to this really takes hold of that. We're not saying any of this to hurt your feelings. We're saying this because we love you.
yeah, the thing is, I'm, you know, since I've been free, it's been like a weight lifted off my shoulders. It is literally like a millstone has been lifted off me. And I feel so much more calm now, and at peace, and, you know, and yes, I'm an apostate of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm an apostate of that religion, but I'm not an apostate of God. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses mix up. They think somebody that leaves the Jehovah's Witnesses have left God. Just the opposite. I mean, whether you're religious or not, whether you've come out of the kingdom, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and you're religious, you've turned atheist, if that's besides the point. For me personally, calling me an apostate, you couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, I'm apostate of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'll wear that badge with pride. I'll wear that in big letters, big bold letters. Yes, I'm an apostate of the Jehovah's Witness organization, but that is not Jehovah. That is 8 men, 8 suit and ties who are above their station. They admit they're not even inspired by spirit. Well, I, as a Christian, I'm inspired by spirit, so perhaps I should be in charge. I don't know, but they admit they're not. They admit that. I mean, we know they're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but they're not even close to it. They're not even trying. They're just all out for themselves. They're milking the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're ruining people's lives. They're destroying families. They're now taking the places of worship away and making them travel further, adding on to cost and stress and is that really a loving organisation? Is that really somebody that's thinking of you, brothers and sisters? No, it's not. And the difference is I go to church, I get all the help I need when I need it, and we're very supportive of each other. We love each other. We love God more than anything. But we will not put man in the way of God anymore, and we will not be milked. And we have complete decisions in everything that happens in our church. Everything that's spent is a genuine vote. We have a once a month or so, or once every 2 or 3 months sometimes. We have a meeting to discuss what needs to be built or sold or paid for or whatever, and we all have a vote, and we can say no, and some of us have said no on certain things, and nobody's kicked out the Kingdom Hall, nobody's ostracized or shunned or basically shut down. There's none of that. It's all above board, and we all agree. Sometimes we agree to disagree, and other times we all agree. It's just that is how it should work, and it does not work like that in the Kingdom Halls. It does not work like that in the Watchtower. You are a slave to men, 8 men, 8 suit and ties. When you are given, when they are between you and Christ and God, and they say that they have every control over you, they make up ridiculous ridiculous rules that they say are Bible based, and know nothing of the sort. I mean, it's quite easily provable if you look. I cannot stand by. I cannot allow these people to get away with that. They ruined my life. 19 years I suffered, and I only went because I thought that's where I should be. That's where God wanted me. Only to find out, what had happened. My daughter had been abused. My younger daughter had been physically beaten. They'd made my life a misery after my wife died. They did everything they could to destroy me, to kick me out of the congregation. They tried many times, but they just didn't have enough about them. And this is what I want other people to avoid. I've left many friends in the congregation. I've got many friends around the world that were Jehovah's Witnesses, and I still dearly love. And I really miss them each day, some of them. And so one of them was like a father to me, a second father to me. He was a wonderful brother, and he wasn't your average Jehovah's Witness, to be fair. He had opinions of his own, so did his wife, but they kept quiet within the congregation. But they would tell me, and I would sometimes tell them things, but it never went any further than that. They were the only people I could actually trust to say anything. Well, people like them, I dearly love them, and I still do, and I still miss them even now. I still miss talking to them. But I cannot stay in a religion that is blasphemous, it's false, and it's hurting people. And that's the worst thing. It's hurting people, and it's doing a lot of damage. They're not just ripping them off financially. There's people dying, suicidal, mental health is rife. And it's all because of these 8 suit and ties who think they're above the law, and they think they're above the governments of the world, and they think they're above God, and that's the worst thing. Anyway, that's where I end it. So we're getting towards time, I think. So,
yep.
How are we doing, Rick?
We are.
Wow, we got about 3 or 4 minutes. So go ahead and wrap it on up, while Roland and Chad. Yep.
You got anything else to say, Chad? Oh, sorry. Go on, Cole. If you go.
Yep. Okay, it's Dick Borgie again. Yeah, to your point, Jehovah's Witnesses will teach the congregations that if you are disfellowshipped, or even worse, you're an apostate, you are an enemy of God. That's BS. I can tell you this. I have a much better relationship with Jesus and my Heavenly Father than I ever did when I was a ministerial servant or a pioneer. Much better relationship with our Heavenly Father than I ever did, when I was a servant. Just wanted to touch on that point that you brought up well.
Yeah, thanks, Dick. Yeah, me too. Exactly the same. When I found God and I found the Lord, I've now got a personal relationship with the Lord Jesus, which I couldn't have as a JW because I had 8 suit and ties in front of me saying, "Oh no, you can't go to Jesus unless you come through us." I didn't have that personal relationship with Jesus. I found it during prayer, and I've found Holy Spirit as well. And I know we don't talk much about religion on a Saturday night, but because we're talking about a religion and how they talk about apostates, leaving God. Well, I certainly haven't left God. I've found God. I mean, I've found him like I've had experiences like I've never, ever experienced as a JW. I've had random experiences evangelizing, just randomly starting to evangelize to people without the blue. Didn't know what I was saying, just happened. That was the Holy Spirit. Those people are now coming to church. I could have traveled 1,000 doors and not got anybody interested. I spoke to 2 people outside of church one morning. Next time we had a service, they were there, and they've been there ever since. And then 1 or 2 has happened like that. And God has just given me a peace now that I never had as a JW. I have hope for my future, my eternity. I didn't have that as a JW. I thought I'd ruined that with the blood issue, with allowing my wife to have blood. So I never thought I was going to get a resurrection. I was doing it more for my children and because I love God. I hope my children could have a resurrection. I mean, and all they got was hurt by it. So, so now I'm out. It's a great life. Great. I couldn't be closer to God if, than I am now. It's just not possible. So I agree with you. Yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap it up there. Sorry, had you got one more thing to say, Chad, before we call it a day?
Hello. Go ahead, caller. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say when I left, they told me it was a wasted time for me to pray. That's what they told me when I left. So this is Jeff anyway.
Yeah, well, it's not a waste of time. You can pray better when you're not a JW because you haven't got any restrictions, have you? You can just go straight to the source, so yeah. Sorry, Chad, go on. Just wrap up now.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you heard of the buzzing that was going on a few minutes ago on my.
A little bit.
Sorry about that. My apartment building is on fire. It's not.
All right. Yeah. Just a practice, is it? Just a false alarm, though.
No, it's a real fire, but it's okay.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right.
I'm not worried.
You're safe, are you? You don't need to get out.
No, I'm fine.
All right. Okay then. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Anyway, it's been lovely. We've enjoyed your comments, viewers. We've enjoyed the chat, and we hope to catch you in a fortnight's time. And Chad will be back next week on this Sunday with his Theology Matters. So we look forward to that. And now we look forward to Rick Fearon's 6 Screens of the Watchtower news show. Thank you, Rick. Take it away.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, well, that was a good program. Very good program. You guys did a really, really good job. Just adjusting my mic here. Just give me a second to get this thing done. It's what happens once in a while. My microphone slips, and if it does, we're in trouble. So before we start the program, it just loosened up on me as he was talking about the fire. We hope the Chad's all right out there, golly.
It's fine. It'll be fine. This happens sometimes 4 times a day.
All right.
All right.
Right.
All right. I think we're ready to go then, folks. Well, anyways, this is Rick Fearon at the Command Center right up here in Boston, Massachusetts, and we got a full night of programming coming up. Yes, we've got JW World News coming up next, and then at 9:30 we have Joe Dyer. Why he wanted to come on? He's going to come on and tell us stories of former elder and he's got a lot to talk about. Some of the scandals, sex scandals, some of the corruption that he saw as an elder. He's going to share with us tonight at 9:30. Joe Dyer, you all know him. He'll be coming on to tell a story. And then at 11 o'clock, we have After the Storm. We have a girl named Gail. She's out of Houston, Texas. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. And she has a guest coming on tonight, Gilbert Gonzalez. My goodness. Well, he's running for the governing body. Well, you know, it's kind of a satire, but he's going to tell you all about it tonight at 11 o'clock. And then somewhere around 12:30, we have Apostle Babe. So by all means, stay with us. You don't want to miss anything tonight. We got some really, really good programming coming up, so we're all looking forward to it. Well, we're going to do the news now. I'll tell you, tonight we got some really interesting things to share with you, so don't go anywhere. If you guys can hang in there with us and listen to what's going on, I think you'll really, really be fascinated with the news tonight. So let me just make sure all of our sound clips are ready, because we do go live on YouTube and Facebook and 6 other platforms. So everything looks to be pretty good. Microphones are checked. Everything's ready to go. So see if we can. I'm just going to check one other thing here. Make sure we got the right mics on. Make sure we got the right audio. Yes, we do. So we're ready to roll, friends. So stay with us. We'd love to have you join all the programs tonight. We're going live now on YouTube. And if you want to watch us on YouTube, if you're listening in on the phone or the suite and you want to see it on YouTube, well, just go to Rick, just punch into YouTube, Rick Fearon 6 Screens or Rick Fearon Watchtower, and it will come up. So give that a shot. Excellent. Let's go live right now.
You're on the 6 Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, here we go. We're going into our newscast, so by all means, stay in here with us. Well, are you guys excited about the annual meeting? Well, the Watchtower had the annual meeting today. A new book was released, and they're also talking about a new arrangement for the circuit overseers. And we also have news from inside Bethel. COVID has broke out at the world headquarters from what we're learning right now. And a Jehovah's Witness sister is wearing pants in a congregation, and she's actually passing the microphone. And then we also see a brother out in service with blue jeans on. And yet there's another money video saying that if you want to really be a friend of Jehovah, you have to give money. Can you imagine that? Well, anyways, hello, everyone. My name is Rick Fearon, and I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world. And boy, I mean it when I say it, lots of apostates up here, and I know they're coming to where you are. So I'm just thinking here tonight, before I even start the broadcast, I just want to let the people in Florida know we have so many people that call into the program from Florida. We hope you're all safe down there. Boy, that was something else. The news reels that we're seeing and the videos coming out of Florida are really, really something else. So by all means, our prayers are with you folks, and we're thinking of you. And we pray and hope that all things can work out for you in the best possible way. So it's just amazing to me what is happening here in the world around us. We're seeing things going on that we've never seen before. We're seeing inflation. We're seeing these wicked hurricanes. And it's just been terrible here the last few months with what's happening. But the hearts are going out to all those people that have been infected by world conditions and, of course, by the hurricane. And, you know, I wanted to bring this up tonight. The governing body is all talk. They're all talk. And what I mean by that, they, after every broadcast they do on their video streaming, they always say, oh, and the governing body loves you, brothers and sisters. Do they really love you? And I got thinking when I saw these horrific footage coming out of Florida, I got thinking, my goodness, look at all the poor people are going to be displaced, no home to live in. Many of these people are Jehovah's Witnesses as well. And I'm sure many at Kingdom Halls got decimated. I'm sure that happened. But the reason why I even bring this up tonight is I'm really thinking here we have the only, according to them folks, the only Christian organization on the planet, the only one that Jesus really approves of. And today I was watching television, and there's a furniture company in Houston, Texas. And the man who owns the furniture company, he feels so bad for the people in Florida, and even helped the people when Katrina hit Louisiana back around 2008, 2009, if you guys remember. I think that's when it was. But the point I'm trying to make is this man went out of his way. He just owns a furniture store, and he loaded up a truck with mattresses and tarps and water, and he got a couple other trucks. I don't know if he rented them or what he did, but he had a whole fleet of trucks on his own dime going down to Florida to help the poor people that got hurt and have been displaced by this terrible hurricane. Now, that got me thinking, I don't even know if the man's a Christian, but he certainly does show love. But here we have an organization. Now, I'm not saying anything about the organization's response to Florida. It's too early yet. But I'll be interested to see what they are going to do. But all I can tell you is they're all talk and no action. Oh, they're concerned about the brothers and sisters. And there was a video I was watching on their channel on jw.org, and with all of the problems going on in Ukraine, and of course a lot of the Ukrainian brothers and sisters, they're leaving Ukraine, they're going to places like Poland and other countries over there, Hungary and Czechoslovakia. I don't think they call it that any longer, but they're fleeing Ukraine. And anyways, there was one story I was reading about online about a family in Poland that was going to take in a family from Ukraine, a Jehovah's Witness family. And so the family showed up stone cold broke. And consequently, did they get help from the organization? No. The brothers and sisters in the congregation all chipped in, but that's what they do. They really don't help their own. They talk a good game, like I say, but they're all talk and no action. Now, I got thinking, well, what if something catastrophic happened in this country? I don't know. I don't want to be a jinx here, but let's just suppose that all of a sudden a nuclear bomb went off somewhere in this country. I hope that doesn't happen. But if it did and a bunch of people got displaced and were homeless, and you had, say, 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses pleading with the organization, could you please take us in? We'll sleep on the floor. We'll sleep outside. We'll bring our tents and camping gear. Can we stay with you folks? Do you think the Watchtower would say, yeah? You think they'd warmly invite the brothers and sisters to come up and spend some time with them? The answer would be no, unless the media was there. Well, if the media was there, this would be a great opportunity, and then they kick their brothers and sisters off the land. I know that would happen. So they talk a good game, but, they're not really the loving organization you think they would be. But, I'm going to tell you, I was down in Florida. I lived there for 10 years. And when Hurricane Andrew hit Miami, South Florida, that was brutal. I mean, that was like, I think this hurricane's even worse, but that was bad enough. And it was a Cat 5, and it leveled South Florida. So I was going to the Jehovah's Witness Assembly Hall in Plant City, and that was a staging area. So all the congregations in Florida were asked to send their supplies, canned food, blankets, clothing, all of that to Plant City, which we did. And I kind of even coordinated it to a small degree by bringing stuff over there. So they had a gigantic amount of, all the brothers and sisters were generous with money. They were sending blankets, and they had truckloads of stuff that they were going to bring down to the people, the brothers and sisters, basically in Miami. But something, all of that effort and all of the work of putting that all together, from what I heard, they never made it to Miami with the goods. Somehow something got snagged up, and so Watchtower wasn't able to get the goods down to the people. That's what I heard. And I've heard this before, too, even online, and even reading today about a disaster. Another time a hurricane hit, and the Watchtower collected funds, blankets, food supplies. And to tell you the truth, they never got it. So, this happens. And the Watchtower, they're so eager to, we love you, and like it, they make it look like they're reaching out to help every Jehovah's Witness. But I never, in the 16 years of doing our live broadcast here, I have never, ever heard of Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization giving people a penny. I've never heard of it. And I've asked, is there anyone out there that, yes, who's this?
Hey, Rick, I was going to say, they only help ex-witnesses, not ex-witnesses, witnesses, and they only help them. And also, I've been told when they do work on your property after it's been destroyed, your house, what have you, they expect the money from the insurance claim the Watchtower does from the folks that had their house destroyed that are witnesses. That's what I've heard. I've done a little research on it, and I believe it's true. So,
yeah, in fact, I've heard it was true too. Jeff, I've heard the same thing. I've had people call in here and actually say the same things as well. Yes. So it's fascinating.
Wow. Rick, can I share something too?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Joe from Colorado. I'm the current emergency manager and incident commander for our emergency management in the county and also the hospital I work at. And one of the things as a logistics officer, we have to make binders with all resources. And we're talking about not only law enforcement, fire, EMS, we're talking about other organizations. And when I got to the religious sector, because, when we have events, we need people to minister to others, especially if we have a big event. And this could be tornadoes, active shooter. You never know what the situation is. Well, I called all the religious organizations, and because you have to call them ahead of time and ask them if they could be put as a resource in the binder, so if they're needed, they could be called upon. Well, when I called the local Kingdom Hall, and I don't think this had anything to do with me being disfellowshipped, because the person I talked to, I actually didn't know the man, the elder, and I told him, I said, we would like to have you on our list so we could use you in the event we have mass casualties, tornadoes, where people could get spiritual assistance. And he actually said, leave us off the list. And I asked him, I said, is there a reason? He said, well, we don't want to get involved in any community activities because they would consider it interfaith.
wow.
I kid you not.
Yeah.
So I have almost every religion, every entity that is in my binder in the case in case we need people to come to our hospital or the county to serve the needs, spiritual needs of people. And the Watchtower or the local Kingdom Hall refused to be in the binder. So we cannot call them for a resource. Thank you.
Well, no, the good comment, Joe, and I believe every word you said, and everybody listening to this program believes it. That's what these guys do. They talk a good talk, but they do nothing. And, you know, some of the horror stories that we read about the Watchtower. In fact, even this one woman, I got information here to the 6 screens. The son got a hold of me and he gave me some information concerning he's not a witness anymore, but concerning his Jehovah's Witness mother. And the organization never helped him or the mother. They had an alcoholic father, a husband the wife had an alcoholic husband. And the Watchtower did nothing. These poor people were basically on the street. They didn't know what was going to happen to them. They got no help from the organization. Now, we always hear stories of individual people who would kind of step in and help them, and they do. But the organization gives diddly squat. And it's a sad state of affairs. And when I think of this organization stating they're the only Christian organization on the planet, shame on them. Shame on them. Did you see the big trucks from the Good Samaritan? The Samaritan's Purse, I should say. You know, Billy Graham's son. You know, that's a good organization. And he's got big trucks going down there. Does a Watchtower do that? Absolutely not, but we'll give them some time. I know it's still early.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick. Yeah, here's their thought. All these people are going to die at Armageddon because they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. That is their thought right there. So why should we help them?
Well, I mean, you might have a point there. Jeff. That's exactly what they feel. Well, these people are worldly people anyways. But I mean, they should even, never mind the worldly people, they should be helping them too. But they're not even helping their own kind, sure. Jeff. They're not even helping the witnesses, you know?
No, they're not.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Not.
I mean, I'll let Denise speak up. Go ahead. Go ahead, Denise. Yeah.
Yeah. After they built the new world headquarters, they took and they railheaded all their supplies to Texas to auction them off. And I mean, everything, building supplies, vehicles, all kinds of stuff were railheaded to Texas. That very same summer that they did that, Texas got hit by a hurricane. So I got on Reddit and I put an announcement up that I wanted current JWs to let me know if Watchtower provided them any help. And even though all those building supplies and all that equipment was right there in Texas, Watchtower did not release it to help the congregations in Texas.
Unbelievable.
They didn't see Watchtower or hear from them or anything. I asked them, I said, well, who's helping you? And they said, the brothers and sisters are helping other brothers and sisters. There's no one else helping us. And I think that, you know, they even have a fund that is supposed to be earmarked for disaster relief fund. Now, where does that money go? I've never seen them use it for anything. I don't know what they do with that money. But it certainly didn't go to hurricane victims, even of their own. Not even their own congregations received help. And also, one other thing I wanted to say, there's a Secret Elders book, y'all know. There's also a Circuit Overseer's manual. And in the Circuit Overseer manual, it says when there's a disaster, the Circuit Overseer is supposed to go around and find out who needs stuff. Well, they can make a list all they want, but nowhere in there does it say that they're supposed to pass the information on to anybody or do anything about it. What the Circuit Overseers are instructed to do when there's a disaster is to go around and remind the rank and file not to miss a meeting.
Not terrible, huh?
So whatever you do, if your house is a disaster, if you don't have food and your car blew away, still try to make the meetings. They're so important. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen the organization do anything to help anybody. I mean, look at what happened in the Ukraine when people were evacuating and witnesses were leaving. All those religions that were up there, they had tents with food and water and all that. And all you saw was Jehovah's Witnesses standing with a JW.org sign. No food to help out with anybody. No, nothing. All they were doing is, I don't know what they were doing, but they certainly weren't helping anybody. And it is so unscriptural and unchristian for them to either help their own or nobody, you know, because they're supposed to help everybody. All the other church groups and all the other people, they will help anybody regardless of what religion they are, whether they have a religion or not. But Jehovah's Witnesses don't. And that goes against Scripture. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say.
Well, it goes against Scripture. It also goes against humanitarianism. I mean, geez, you've got to have, even if they're, portraying themselves as Christian as they are, but there's another factor as well. These people belong to an organization that they started. Do they have any feeling for the people? I mean, people have given them money. People have committed themselves to come to their meetings and learn from them. And at the same time, they do diddly squat for them. Well, thank you, Denise. Denise, we love always to hear from you. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, so that's my feelings on this, and we'll see how the Watchtower reacts to the hurricane, and at least to the brothers and sisters, Jehovah's Witness brothers and sisters, that is in Florida. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, you're on JW World News. This is the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. Now, today is October 1st. Isn't that something? Boy, the time is just moving by so fast. Now, is anyone excited tonight about the governing body annual meeting that they had today? Well, the annual meeting is on October 1st, which is today, and there's much speculation about what went on, but I'm getting the skinny. I'm starting to get some information coming in from what was said. So some of the things that were brought to the attention at the annual meeting, well, one is there's a book. Evidently, there's a new book. And, I look at this as pretty reliable information. I have a man that's been sharing some things from me, and I do look at it as reliable. Now, I can only go on the fact that he's been reliable before, but he's telling me that there's a book that's been released at the governing body annual meeting today. And it has to deal with future prophetic events with a combination of discussion on the books of Daniel, Isaiah, and Revelation. Well, they're going to bring this book out. They're really trying to pinpoint prophetic events. They love to do that, don't they? Oh, they want to make you feel like, man, I'm right in the middle of this whole thing. So there you have it. We have the Watchtower now with a new book, from what I understand. I mean, I'm taking this as a reliable source. Can't totally confirm it all, but it seems pretty safe that I can at least talk about it here tonight. Now, this prophetic book is going to be very similar to the Pure Worship book. If some of you witnesses remember that, they're really trying to get you sucked into the time that they believe is the final days of the final hours of the final days. I mean, that's where we are right now at the Witnesses. But I'm going to say that I go with this is going to be a new book. Also, it's being known that there's a new Caleb video. I mean, that doesn't excite you, does it? That doesn't excite me. I don't watch Caleb videos anyways, but I suppose there's people that do. But there's some things coming out of this annual meeting that are quite provocative, quite fascinating. Well, I'll tell you what, there's more talks and videos exalting the organization's approach to the COVID pandemic. Now, they're patting themselves on the back. They're patting themselves on the back that, oh, look at us. We've helped so many Jehovah's Witnesses to be able to come to grips with what's going on. And we're helping them realize that we saved them from the COVID by encouraging them to get the vaccine. Well, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure that they saved anybody at all. I'm beginning to wonder how many people they probably killed, to be honest with you, by forcing medical issues down their throat. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, they got paid. They got paid for giving vaccinations. That was government mandated, and Walgreens, all the drugstores, what have you, they were reimbursed. So was Watchtower to give vaccinations. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, we talked about that too, Jeff. Yeah, well, thank you. That's true. So, there was probably something in it for them. I can't give you the exact amount of money they made on it, but we did hear that there was money being offered to religious organizations, and they were going to pay each, they're going to pay the organizations for how many members they got vaccinated. They put a dollar amount on people that they got vaccinated. That's what we heard. So, the thing is, now they're going to be having these new videos and how they really helped all the witnesses during the pandemic. So these are things they talk about. And if you ever went to an annual meeting, I never did. My wife, Susan, has, and she's witnessed some of their tactics and what have you. But this is a meeting for stockholders primarily. And there are stockholders in the Watchtower. And you say, well, who are these people? Oh, they have a stockholders meeting? Well, that's what the annual meeting is. By law, if you're a corporation, which the Jehovah's Witnesses are, now they're a private corporation. They're not public. They're not on the New York Stock Exchange. But the point I wanted to make with that, by law, all corporations are to have at least one meeting a year. Some corporations have a meeting a month. Some corporations have a meeting a week. The Watchtower has their meeting once a year. And they talk about how much money they made. But the average person goes there. They don't hear any of the financial rhetoric. They don't hear any of that. What they hear about is what I'm talking about here right now, about the new books and about other issues on what the Watchtower is doing. But they don't discuss financial positions with the people who just go there and listen. And they get a number there. Now, I'm not sure. Nobody could kind of, I'm pretty sure this was done on Zoom, but I'm not totally sure of that. I think partly by Zoom. What it is they have Bethelites come in too, and then they do some on Zoom. So I'm not really sure what they did totally this year. It's not quite sure. It seems like they had some there, and they also were on Zoom at the same time. But anyways, it was quite fascinating. Some of the other things that are coming down the pipeline. And these are things that also were brought up according to my source. Now, my source is pretty reliable, but, I still say there's an element of who knows at times. But I'm going to tell you what some of the stuff coming down the pipeline is. And you're going to hear a new term. Now, we know about circuit overseers, right? We know the term. And we all know the term a substitute circuit overseer. Well, they're changing some names, terms, and they're upping the ante. Now, substitute circuit overseers will be replaced by a new role. The substitute circuit overseer is now going to be called circuit servants. Well, we heard that before, right? The servants will be appointed directly by the branch office and recommended by the circuit overseers. So just to put this in perspective, there's elders in the congregation, and then there's ministerial servants. Now what we have is we're going to have substitute circuit overseers as we've known them. They're now going to be replaced by a new term called circuit servants. So they'll be like a ministerial servant, and the circuit overseer will be like the elder, right? He'll be a step above. So the servants, the circuit servants will be appointed directly by the branch office and recommended by the circuit overseers. So when the circuit overseer, as we know him, comes around today and he sees a good brother that's doing a good job, hey, I'm going to make you a circuit servant. So here we have another title. Now, we've heard the term before. Before circuit overseers were circuit overseers, they were circuit servants, right? All right. I hope you got that part of it, but we'll go a little deeper in any questions you guys can ask. But also we're learning that these circuit overseers will begin recommending brothers for appointment where the elders have not done so. Now, we know how it worked in the past when all of you folks were going to the meetings, what had to take place in a hall. If a brother was reaching out to be an elder, he would have to be recommended by the body of elders to the circuit overseer that would be coming around and say, hey, Brother Fearon is qualified and we want to recommend him for eldership. Well, the circuit overseer would look at it and he could make the appointment for Brother Fearon. Okay, just using my name for example. So that's what happened before. You had to be recommended. You had to be recommended by the body of elders. They're circumventing that. If the circuit overseer sees something good in a person, he's going to say, make this person a circuit servant, a step below the circuit overseer. Oh my goodness, you can see what the Watchtower is doing. So just to give you an idea, the circuit overseers will in their own judgment add and remove appointed men as they see fit. So, they're not going to. Now, they've been kind of getting away from the organization making that decision the last few years, but they just gave the circuit overseers a little more power. They are the judge and the jury here. If they see a brother in the hall that's reaching out and certainly is qualified, boom, make this man a circuit servant. So circuit servants will possibly either give unofficial visits to each congregation once in every 2 to 3 months. So let me just get this straight for you. It's a circuit servant, not the circuit overseer, but the ones below him, the circuit servants, they're going to be making unofficial visits. In other words, they're going to pop in on you. It's not going to be like a scheduled event. It's going to be an unofficial event. And they're going to pop in 2 or 3 times a month to check on the progress of the body of elders and observe the spirituality of the congregation, sharing in the ministry with as many as possible. Friends, I'm telling you, I got my own feelings on it. I'm sure you guys do too. But boy, I'm telling you, things are going haywire in this organization. But see what it is.
Rick.
Yeah, Jeff, can you hold on? Is this Jeff?
This is Mike from California.
Oh, Mike from California. Okay, Michael, go ahead. I thought it was Jeff. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was talking to a circuit overseer a couple of years ago, and he called that downtime because they're consolidating so many congregations. The circuits aren't as big as they used to be. So he said we call that downtime. So they'll pick a congregation and just go with that congregation. You'll have meetings as regular, and then they'll try to work with the pioneers and many as friends as possible. So they're calling that he called it downtime. And I said, that's the correct term for it. He said that he told me, yes, they're calling that downtime, that they're going to do that. Now, this circuit servant that you're mentioning, that's new. I never heard that before, but he told me that was about maybe just before COVID, I believe. He told me that. So I guess they were working on something similar to that back in 17, 18. They probably was working on something similar to what you're describing.
Yeah, this may not take effect till next year, but they're putting it in place. And from what I understand, the information that's been given to me is they evidently have been talking about this at the annual meeting this year, which happened today. So this is the information I'm getting. Like I say, it might not be totally accurate, but the source that's giving it to me is very, very reliable. So you're hearing things here tonight that are kind of, boy, I'll tell you, it's kind of rocking, but it all stands fit. So you see the organization right now, they're so concerned about the elders being trustworthy. They're not sure. A lot of these elders are stepping down. A lot of these elders are not going along with the arrangements the organization wants them to go along with, like selling kingdom halls off. And, hiding child molestation. Many of the elders are starting to get a little bit loyal, renegade from the Watchtower. So they're now they're setting up this other class now of stronger spiritual men, so to speak. So a circuit servant will be higher than an elder. He won't be as high as the circuit overseer, but he'll be in between, and he'll be making unofficial visits to make sure that the men in the congregation are trustworthy men. And if they see some of these elders are not trustworthy, they're going to delete them on the spot. And there's going to be no room for vacillation here. If you have an elder that's running in the opposite way of listening to the orders of the Watchtower, he's a dead duck. So now also the other thing, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, this is Michael from Ohio.
Yeah, Mike.
I wanted to back you up on your where you heard about the book being released, Revelation, Ezekiel, and Daniel.
Yeah.
My elder friend told me a month ago that was coming out. We had a conversation about that, and he knows that I study with, and now I study with Jewish rabbis. And I told him, I said, well, I hope this works out better than your 1975 date, And he took a little offense to it, and he says, well, what does the Jewish people think about, I said, well, Mark, I said, you're in Ezekiel 38 right now. And the Jewish people, and I know you don't believe this, but the Jewish people are dead set on building that third temple. And I've been to Israel. I've seen the essentials that go into it. If they build that building, they're ready to go. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that. He said, good day. That's the last time I talked to my elder friend.
My goodness, huh?
Of 25 years.
Wow. Well, that's sickening, Michael. Yeah. But that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what they do, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that comment. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got your email too, and I'm looking forward to being on your show in a couple weeks. Don't forget to call me.
You got it. Oh, no. I've got you right on the list. You are coming on, my man. Okay. You're coming on to tell your story. My goodness. Thank you, Michael.
And this will be for people who are thinking about dropping out or people who have dropped out. Make sure that you listen, because you're going to hear one great story.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Really, you got me sitting on the edge of my seat here. So we're looking forward to it, Michael. Thank you for chiming in tonight. Right. Thank you. Yeah, so we've got...
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say what you were talking about. They're changing the name of the circuit overseers, and they're going to analyze these elders, like you're saying. It was kind of like Hitler in 1944 when the war was going bad for him. He did a purge of his generals to get rid of them if they were not following what he wanted in his orders and everything else. And that's kind of how I see it, is a kind of a purge. And to get rid of elders that do not abide by the governing body's word. How I see it.
Oh, well, that's a good way to see it. Hey, what we're going to do here right now, we are having some technical issues. I am getting reports that there's no screen showing on YouTube nor on the Facebook. And a number of people are writing in. If you guys are commenting there, I see King of Dots and Southern Brows Lady. Can you see me on here? I'm just curious. Can you see me on here? Go ahead and just comment and let me know that so I can make some adjustments here. Can you see me on YouTube and Facebook? People are writing in. Go ahead and comment, please. Yes, you can see me. All right, so they're good here. All right, so it's good on YouTube and Facebook. It's on YouTube and Facebook. So, I mean, maybe not Facebook, but we are on YouTube. We're not going to, as long as we're on one, yeah, everyone's saying they can see me. So that's good. We're not going to go back and do anything. I'm sorry if you're on Facebook. Maybe you can hear me. But if you want to see me, you got to go to Rick Fearon 6 Screens YouTube. Rick Fearon 6 Screens Watchtower, Rick Fearon 6 Screens YouTube. And you can pick us up over there. All right, so let me just get into this a little bit deeper concerning the annual meeting. Now, the changing names, I just want to correct Jeff, who was just on talking. They're not changing the name of the circuit overseer. That name is staying the same. They're creating a new arrangement, I guess you could say. They're going to call it circuit servant. So they're going to have circuit overseers still, but below them will be a circuit servant. And that'll be like a lower servant, but they will have a lot of power. They'll have a lot of power. And what they're being used for, they're being used to spy. They're being used to come into the congregations and to be able to examine the congregations unofficially. And from what I gather, they're not going to be saying, now the circuit overseer, he comes every 6 months. But what I gather here, these circuit servants, they're just going to show up unannounced. Well, you guys keeping your records right? And
Can I share something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Joe from Colorado. You know, when you mentioned that, I thought of something.
Yeah.
That is actually the corporate model. Now, any corporation, you know, they have their district managers and they have their area managers. It wasn't the district managers that you had to worry about that would come and inspect the corporation. It was the area managers that would come unannounced because you weren't prepared. And so I have a funny feeling they're going to use this to their advantage. And I have a funny feeling when you said that they're leaving it up to the circuit overseers and also these circuit servants to make the recommendations. They're taking it away from the elders. One of the things the Watchtower wants to do, and this is just what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, they want to appoint younger men. And maybe elder bodies are hesitant about doing that. I know when I was an elder, they wouldn't even consider anybody under 22. It was just a Kingdom Hall rule. But, you know, every elder body is different. But I wonder if the organization is going to use this so these men have like a standing orders. Hey, if you see these young men really reaching out, we don't care if they're 20. Appoint them.
Well, that's probably what
That's
they're
all I
doing.
have, Rick.
Well, no, it's good. I agree with you. But they now have one more layer here of people to watch over others, and that's going to be the circuit overseer. And they'll be popping in and just making sure the congregation is going smooth. They want to listen to the brothers and sisters. Friends, I'll tell you right now, apostasy is big. Plenty of Jehovah's Witnesses are leaving because of apostasy. They've had enough. The internet's the great equalizer. So, yeah, so now we get some new terms again that evidently are going into place as well. Now, we all know the Kobe, right? Remember, that's the chairman of the elders of the Kobe, the chairman of the body of elders. Well, that's what they called him, the acronym Kobe. That's changing. Yeah, that is now changing. They're not going to call him the Kobe anymore. He is going to be the coordinator of the body of elders. That's what they told him before. He was the coordinator. But now they made a change. He is now the chairman of the body. So the Kobe is going to be known as the chairman of the body of elders. Now, the service overseer, well, we've had service. When I was in, 10 years ago, they had a service overseer. Well, they're not going to call him the service overseer any longer. He's now going to be called the field ministry servant. The field ministry. You know why? The Watchtower is good at this. Throughout the ages of their existence, they've been changing things around like this. Sometimes they go back to the old terms. So I'm not sure the reason why they do it, but as was just mentioned earlier, Hitler did a lot of the same things. Maybe this is some type of a mind control. I don't know. But so anyways, the secretary, remember?
Hey.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Ricky, there is a lot of comparison with the Nazi Party and Hitler with the way this organization is acting. The fact that people are leaving and they're getting desperate, and it's just do your research, people.
Well,
Big comparison.
that's what we want them to do, Jeff. Yeah. So now the service overseer, he's the field ministry servant. And then, of course, the chairman of the elders is what he'll be referred to now, not the Kobe. And special pioneers. Well, they're even going to change their name. You know, we've always known special pioneers, right? For many years. Now we're going to call them field pioneers. Yeah, the special pioneers will be called field pioneers. And their new hour requirement, the hour requirement for a field pioneer, which is on the top of the mountain here. They're the elite class. They're the Navy SEALs of the pioneers. They got to get 80 hours a month in. 80 hours a month. So that's, 20 hours a week. That's doable. But man, it's a hustle, right? Who would want to put 1 hour in? Never mind 80. Now the regular pioneers, well, they're going to continue to call them regular pioneers, and they have to get 50 hours in. 50 hours in. That's not too bad. Well, before COVID, it was up around 70 or 80. So they dropped that back to 50. Auxiliary pioneers will have to put in 30 hours. And that's going to be their requirement. And then if you are elderly or infirm and you really want to pioneer, well, they're going to let you become an auxiliary pioneer. And all you have to do is put 15 hours a month in and you'll be a pioneer. So that's something. Now, another thing that I was told by this reliable source, he's an insider, friends. I can't give you too much more about it. But another thing I was told by this insider is that Bible studies will now begin on the first return visit. Now, that's kind of a switch. Just previous, well, let's go back to our days. I go back to the 2005. That's when I left. That's when Satan kicked me out of his organization. But back then, you really couldn't start some did that did make an effort to try to start a study, but usually it took, 5-6 return visits. And previous, they were suggesting just in the last couple of years that if you had a Bible study that you could do it in 2 return visits. But now they want you to really do your best to start a Bible study with 1 return visit. So in other words, you make the initial call. Hi, I'm Rick from the Watchtower. I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and I got these books for you. So they take the book, and then the next time you come back, they want you to start a study. Hey, that's going to be hard, right? You got to get to know the person. Jesus, they smooge. They really do. They smooge. That's, years ago, you had 5 or 6 visits. You get to know the person. Hey, would you like to study with me? Boy, now they're like cramming it down their throat. Yeah, first visit, you going to study with me? So we got some things going on here that got me very suspicious. I don't know what's running through your mind, but this got me very, very suspicious with these changes that evidently
Rick,
are
may I say something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they that was back in, I think, 2010. They came out with something called doorstop studies. You would study with the person on the initial call, then they stopped it. Now, it looked like they're kind of going back to it. I remember the doorstop, I think they used to call it the doorstop study. You could study with a person on the initial call when you first made contact. And you could count that almost as a study, or you could count it as a study. And then maybe that was in 10, I think by 12 or 13, somewhere in there, they kind of cut it out. Now, look like they're kind of going back to it. And I just wanted to piggyback off the appointments. Years ago, the circuit overseer, when they took when the society stopped appointing them and they started being appointed by the circuit overseer was appointing the brothers as servants and elders. If a brother was passed over twice or more, he could kind of push or twist the body of the elder's arm to appoint them. Now, they needed the stamp of approval from the body. but now look like they're taking it away from the body. And he just said, well, you guys want to appoint him, I'm gonna go ahead and do it myself. And when you get appointed or recommended, even if you're being used in the congregation, they do what's almost called some type of police report on you. They do a thorough background check on the brothers before they're appointed, even used in the congregation. They won't even let you carry the mic until they do a report on you. And then once the report comes back from the branch, they say they'll give them the stamp of approval. You brothers can proceed if you wish. And then they'll go ahead and appoint you as a servant or elder and start using you in the congregation. Now, this is kind of new, taking it away from the body of elders, where he's doing the appointment if the brother is being passed over. But they kind of had that in the play a little. They were kind of twisting the body's arms, because to me it seems as they were passing brothers over, or they just weren't appointing brothers. And I do know in several areas by where I live, the body of elders has been that same body of elders for over 20 years, and they weren't appointing anybody. And if a new elder moves in, they won't use him. So I guess they're kind of seeing that or getting wind of it from the circuit overseers. So what they're doing, they're forcing their hand.
Well, that's a good comment. Yeah, and I can see that all happening. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. So what I smell here, what I really smell here is that Bethel, the organization itself, they're getting more worried that there are elders in congregations that are becoming more apostate these days. Apostasy, I'm reading into this, I know, and I don't think I'm off track, but apostasy is the main fear. That's the main fear that Jehovah's organization is feeling right now. Bethel is really concerned about the body of elders in congregations. They see that many of these elders are now rebuking. They are not wanting to go along with the society's directions, like selling kingdom halls. There's more and more elders that say, gee, this is something that, our brothers and sisters here locally built a kingdom hall, and now the organization wants to come in and take away. And also there's so many elders that are learning about, they know about the pedophiles, and they know darn well they've been covering up, but it's starting to bother the conscience of many elders. And they're saying, this is enough is enough. I'm not going to go along with this. I'm going to have to report it to the police. The Watchtower really is very concerned about this. So I think that's why they're putting this other layer of spies, you could say, in the congregation. So that's my feeling on it. So they're going to be working together, the circuit overseer and the new circuit servants. They're going to also be the ones involved in putting together a judicial committee. Now, before the elders had that opportunity, or that was their job, so to speak, to put together a judicial committee. Now the ones that are going to arrange it are the circuit overseer and the circuit servants. That they're going to put this together. So we see that some power here seems to be taken away from the elders. They're putting this other layer of security in between the circuit overseer and the elders. So Bethel is toying with some changes here. And they're making these changes because the engine at the Watchtower is not running right. It needs some adjustments. And it's all about apostasy, friends. And this is good news. What we're talking about here tonight makes me very happy. This is wonderful. The organization is just really realizing that something is wrong at the control panel. They're not getting the people to be under the control that they normally would have had the elders under. They're now realizing that, hey, we better do something fast, so we're going to be losing a lot of congregations. They're already losing. And the headquarters know that they've got to do something quick, or it's just going to tank. The whole organization will tank. So these are interesting thoughts, and I want to thank my undercover man, as it is, for giving me this information. And we'll see if it all comes to fruition, but I really do believe what this man has been telling me is right on. It certainly makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, this is Dan. They sound like perks, you know? They sound like this circuit servant is like a perk. And, you know, if you were in an elder congregation, you know, you'd think like they're creating competition. Like, hey, man, that's just under the circuit overseer. And anyway, also the hybrid pioneer that you're talking about that gets 80 hours a month. I mean, what links are they going to go to, Rick? They're desperate. Are they going to put in a special parking place with the name on it of the Pioneer of the Month? You know how they do at McDonald's? Or, you know, the supermarkets, or put a big board up in the Kingdom Hall with gold stars on it and say, Lucy gets a gold star because she got 32 hours this month and she passed out 20 books and 15 magazines and 3 Bibles. It's getting crazy. But like you said, Rick, it's good news. They're desperate. They're scrambling. They're putting all these accolades in place, all these little elevated positions, which just is going to create more narcissism. It's actually going to work against them because there's going to be jealousy. Who the hell is the circuit overseer to put this guy in over us? Aren't we the ones to make decisions? They're scrambling, Rick. You could see it. They're scrambling for everything they can do to keep these people engaged. And I don't know about you. I just want to go back just a little bit with Ezekiel and Daniel. Haven't we all had that stuff down our throats? I mean, Revelations and the churches, and we have fed on that stuff. We're vomiting. And it's unbelievable that they could come up with another story. I mean, the people that are listening, I'm sure they've been through the Revelation book and the bands around the trees and 77 times 7. And, you know, I mean, we're vomiting. Anyway, Rick, good show. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, Dan. Thank you for coming in and voicing your thoughts on it. They're making these adjustments, and they wouldn't be making these adjustments if they didn't have to. What this is saying to me is the Watchtower has to make these adjustments. They're getting very concerned. Friends, the Watchtower is hemorrhaging. I just want you to sit back in your chair. I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses here. The stats, doing this for 16 years, something is drastically changing in the Watchtower organization. They are running scared. The magic juice is not working for them. People are leaving by the droves. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that comment. You're exactly right, because this book, like you said, you know, go on one return visit and ask for a Bible study. I remember a little while back, I say a little while, it's over 20 years, but we had a little brown book, and they said, that's the only book we're going to study with people, you know, because the end's right around the corner. It's one book now, it's not 2. And it's just funny that they're bringing this up again, which means, Rick, as you know, they've got to get the numbers up. This is a numbers thing. This is a money corporation, and the numbers are dwindling. And it's like you said, Rick, their arteries are cut. This thing bleeding all over the place. This organization is done. That's why they're saying, get your butts out there. I think it's interesting that they're calling them servants. I mean, why don't they call them plantation servants? You know, they call them slaves. I mean, this whole servant thing, I mean, it's ridiculous. But I think, Rick, they are hemorrhaging. Get your asses back out in the field. Get to that door. The second time we want you to ask for a Bible study. I mean, they're ordering these slaves around like, oh man, it's sickening, Rick. Anyway, thanks.
Well, you know something, you brought up a thought, Dan, that makes sense to me. Yeah, get a guy studying, get a woman studying on the first return visit, and then they can count that as a study, and hopefully they can go for the jugular vein and get them into the baptismal pool fast because they need the numbers. Yeah, really. That's how I'm looking at it. Was there a sister wants to speak up? Go ahead.
Okay, can you?
Yeah, Rick.
Hold on, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Jeff, hold on. We have a sister coming in. Go ahead, sister.
Okay.
Okay, my daughter's 45, and she's been pioneering for years, and it's 70. Now, when I first came into the religion in the 60s, the special pioneers were 150 hours, but they got paid in allowance. So I'm wondering if they lower it down to 80, those pioneers that are making 70 and not getting any money, if they're thinking, well, if all I got to do is $10 more, 10 hours more a month, now I can get an allowance.
if they just increase it by the 10 hours. But so they're lowering it down for them for 50. But I'm thinking if they just up it 10 hours a month to 80, because she has to get 70 right now. Well, unless I don't know when they're going to change it to 50, but 10 hours a month more. And then I'm wondering, because I know special pioneers get paid, right? They get an allowance. So I'm wondering how much it would be. So I'm thinking maybe that's why they're doing that, because they're thinking they're going to get more special pioneers if they go up to 80. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Well, no, it's a good thought, sister. It's a good thought. Now, yeah, special pioneers, these new field pioneers is what they're going to call them, 80 hours a month. Now, we had a special pioneer on the program. As a matter of fact, she was my cousin. She's been on this program a couple of times. She lives in California, but she was a special pioneer back in the 1980s. And at that time, I believe you hit it on the nose. I think it was 150 hours a month she had to get in. And they were paying her and her husband. They were special pioneering. Now, this is the 80s. And they were paying her and her husband $15 a week. And it was, they couldn't survive. And they're putting gas in the car, $15 a week. I mean, back in 85, it'd probably be equal to maybe $60 a week today. I don't know. But I don't know what they're being paid today, sister, but just based on the numbers and all things being equal, the last I heard, Bethelites were in around $120 a month. So I would say that it's probably equal to a Bethelite, maybe around $120 a month, but I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know, Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Good to hear from you. Now, I've heard from you before on here, have I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've
Well,
called before.
Oh, well, thank you. Always good to hear you call in, and don't you be a stranger. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I add something else?
Sure.
Okay. Before I tried calling in, but I was having a problem. When you were talking about Katrina, during that Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
There were a lot of companies that were donating supplies, to these houses so they could rebuild. And they were donating. I mean, this wasn't Watchtower. This is companies donating a lot of things, to these companies or to these people so they could rebuild. Well, I remember people because we had a sister in a congregation. She had relatives there, and she said the Watchtower was making these people put tarps over their houses for it was almost a year before they could get around to rebuilding their house because they wanted the insurance money so bad. So these people, they would get insurance. They got their insurance money to fix their house. But Watchtower says, no, don't do it. We want to do it. So they look at this as an opportunity to make money. That's what they look at these hurricanes as. It's an opportunity to make money. It's not because they care that much about them.
Well, we're going to wait and see. It's too early for me to make any judgment calls on Watchtower right now. But I like to see what they're going to do.
Rick.
I like to hold on, Jeff. I want to see what they're going to do when, how they're going to respond to the poor brothers and sisters in Florida. I mean, that place is decimated. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on that last lady's that lady's comment as far as insurance claims and what have you. What they do is they bring people from the local congregations or send them down there to do the work for free, and Watchtower collects the insurance claims. I've heard that from good sources. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. You're 100% dead right. Yeah, you're right on the nose.
Well,
free labor.
Yeah, but you have to look at it this way. If a witness is going to get paid insurance money to have their house fixed, and then they get it fixed for free by the Watchtower, by these brothers, that are doing it, well, if they don't hand the money, the insurance money over to these brothers that were doing it, who are going to give it to the society, then they are getting paid to get their houses fixed, and they're keeping the money. You know what I mean? So
Watchtower is keeping the money.
Watchtower is keeping the money, yes. But the thing is, if they don't hand it over, if they get paid by the insurance company to get their house fixed, and then they keep the money for themselves, you see, the brothers have done all of the work. They've, donated all their time, and yet the householder gets to keep the money. So Watchtower guilts them into waiting for the witnesses to do it.
Well,
so they
yeah,
money.
but the deal is Watchtower gets it all, and maybe the material, but the labor is free, which that's a lot.
And most of the supplies are also donated by local companies.
Yeah,
sure.
That's insurance fraud. That's what they call insurance fraud.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's absolutely, sir. That is, and they Watchtower and organizations need to be charged with that. I'm
in the construction business, and I know how this works. And I deal with insurance claims all the time when I was working.
Yes,
the insurance company is liable to pay you what you have to get paid for your house to get fixed. If you don't pay anything to get your house fixed, you got to give that money back to the insurance company.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's insurance fraud. I know that for a fact.
Is that right? No, I never know.
Wow.
In fact, I never heard that. But now you're educating me here. So in other words, what you're saying, let me see if I got this right, because I'm not sure. But in other words, okay, so you got $10,000 worth of damage to your roof. So the Watchtower comes in and says, okay, we'll fix your roof for you for free, basically is what they're saying. So once your roof would be fixed for free, the insurance company is not under obligation to pay you?
No, they're not. If they give that money to the insured person, and the insured person gives it to the Watchtower to get fixed, then that's okay. They can do that. But if the Watchtower never paid anything to get that roof fixed, you got to give that money back to the insurance company because it was free.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So you guys know you know something. Both of you guys knew that. That's interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Insurance fraud.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
It is. I agree with this gentleman, and the labor is a lot of money, and Watchtower, that's free for them. That's free money. So there you go.
The witnesses came from all over the country to go down there and work on those buildings. They came from our congregation too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, even my daughter, who is a strong, loyal Jehovah's Witness till this day, she's I don't know if she's still on it, but back during Andrew's time, when Andrew hit Florida, she went down and she was on the roofing department. And my former wife was so upset that they had our daughter working up on a roof, putting shingles on houses. And I tell you what, this organization, I don't know how they get people to do that on their own dime. My daughter and her husband went down on their own dime and didn't make a penny from the whole thing. And the Watchtower, they're the ones that collect the money.
Yeah, they got me to do it for years, Rick.
Yeah.
I did it for years.
Yeah.
I took my construction company and built in 3-day halls all the time.
Jeez.
Like I told you before, I did it out of love. I was doing it for God.
Yeah.
And
that's what they think.
That's what exactly, ma'am. That's what you think.
Thank you for letting me comment.
Well, I tell you what. I mean, I learned something tonight. I mean, I know the Watchtower is corrupt, but geez, in fact, it's almost like they look for corruption. They look on how to cheat. I mean, it's one thing to cheat by mistake, but these guys, they looks like they cheat by plan. They plan on how they can do it. Unbelievable. Well, you're on 6 screens, JW World News. We love to hear from you guys. So don't be a stranger out there. In fact, what I'm going to do, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to put up a telephone number. And if you're on YouTube and you like what you're hearing here tonight, and you want to call into the program, there's a number right now on YouTube. Go ahead and give us a call. No, don't be bashful. I mean, this isn't CBS News. The whole world isn't listening here. But, why don't you call us up and talk to us? And if you want to be put on the voice changer, I'll even do that for you. And no one will even recognize your voice. We'll get you on so that you can just become incognito. So why don't you call that number? Come on in and talk to us. My friends, I'll tell you what, the more I do this program, the more I learn. Hey, we're all learning together, right? We've all been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. But I tell you what is the fascination? Well, what fascinates all of us? How are we so involved with this? And I don't really have the answer for that. Let me see what's going on here. There's a telephone call coming in. Hold on one second. Yes, go ahead. You're on with it. Who's this?
Hi, this is Fran.
Yes, Fran.
Yes, Joe and I and our family, we were living down in Florida in 2000.
Well, what you can do, Fran, you got the wrong telephone number here. I want you to dial the other number, 7-2 number, okay? Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, somebody called my phone here, but that's okay. We got a woman calling in from New York. She wants to talk about some of this insurance fraud and what have you. So she'll be coming on right with us. Hey, friends, I mean, we can be a little informal here, right? I have to answer the phone sometimes. I'm just a one-man operation for now. So, I know sometimes it doesn't sound as professional as you'd like to have it, but hey, we're one big family here, right? We're all sitting around the couch together. We can mess things up a little, but we're going to hear from Fran. She's going to come on here very shortly and tell us. Are you on there now with us, Fran?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Yeah, go ahead. They want to hear your story.
Okay,
They really do.
Okay, yeah. So, we lived down in Florida during the 4 hurricanes in 2004. And so our family, we were on the roofing crew, never did roofing before. But I remember this one particular time, we didn't have any money, and we had this job because we were doing tree trimming. So we did the job, got the money, we were able to pay for our rent, and we said, okay, good, we got the rent paid. Now we can go and work on this, on the relief work. Well, at that job, Joe hurt his leg. He gashed it really bad, but he said he still wanted to go, but he could not get on the roof. So he spent most of the time in the car, sleeping and recuperating, and I kept, checking on him. But we went down there, and we figured we were doing something good for the friends. We felt really good about it. But after hearing all this, the way the insurance money is being spent, it really makes you feel kind of bad.
It does. In fact, you put all that time and effort on your own dime, too, Fran. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for being a humanitarian. You really had a desire to help your fellow man. You weren't looking for financial gain. You did it out of your own heart. And Joe, too, even though he had a sore foot, he was willing to go down there with you. So kudos for you guys. You did it out of your own heart. And that's what real Christians do. That's what real God-minded people do. Thank you for sharing that. That's good.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. So there you go. There's people, all of us, we've got, 7 billion people, 7 billion people on the planet now. I think that most people are good-hearted. I think most people want to help. But friends, there's some evil people out there. And there's some evil organizations as well. And the Watchtower is one of them. Boy, I'll tell you, we're on JW World News. Does someone want to speak up and talk? Did you want to say something here tonight? We got a little airtime here. We got a number of programs coming up tonight. But if you want to say something about something you heard here tonight, go ahead. You're on with us. Don't be bashful.
Hey, Rick, could I share one more thought?
Sure. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was just thinking, from observation, I don't ever remember going out door to door. I don't ever remember the talks at the assembly say, let's go out and help our wonderful brothers out there in the world that are lost. Let's go out and, love on them today. It's let's get out and get our hours in. The world was a time clock to us. we were getting butts into paradise. And it really was a time card. When we went out door to door, it was just a time card. How many hours did you get in? Did you get anybody? Was anybody? It wasn't that you cared about anybody. So I think this carries over. My brother used to laugh. He went down to Florida a couple times. Oh, we put roofs on, 10 brothers' houses, but they didn't do anything for anybody. Yeah, and it's because, like you said, Rick, a regular church has a community. They have a community for anybody who comes in their church. They want some food, they can eat. If you want to, if there's something that happens in the community, the church opens the door, people come in there, they get to lay down, they get to get food, not the Kingdom Hall, because it's not about love, Rick. There's nothing in there about love. It's all about time and getting our butts into paradise. It's very selfish. That's it, Rick.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan. Yeah, I just want to make another announcement, too. We're having some issues here, evidently. I'm not sure what happened, but I do know that we are on YouTube. Some are saying we're not on Facebook. It's really not that important. I wish that things were working on our platforms, but evidently some are saying that they're not seeing me. I guess they can hear me, but I don't know what to do about it right now. But we'll have another program coming up in a while, and I'll make sure. I don't want to stop everything now and go back, and it'll just be too much to handle. But as long as you can hear me, that's all right. You don't have to really see me, but as long as you can hear me, that's fine too. Just look at it like a radio program. But we're glad you're on with us. We really, really are glad you're on listening in. It's just my...
Hey, Rick, I can hear you on YouTube.
Is that right? Can you see me on YouTube too, or what?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you and everything. Yep.
That's funny that you say that, because we get so many people write me and they're saying, well, we can't see you, Rick, but it's okay. I mean, maybe it's on their end. I don't know. But anyways, You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork. We do the best we can here with what we have. So anyways, let's see what else is going on behind the curtains. Let me get back into my news here and see what we can talk about next, because there's always so many things to talk about. I mean, for 16 years, we've never stopped talking about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So let me see what we got here. Now, I know there's some news coming out of Bethel, and I don't know if you heard it or not, but right now we have, there's some information coming out that COVID has made an outbreak, COVID evidently at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I can't confirm that as being true. I wish that we could be real journalists here, but we're not journalists. I can only go on what people are sending me information. It's like a clearinghouse here. I do trust the people who do send me information, but we do have news coming in now that there's an outbreak of COVID-19, COVID, whatever it would be, Omicron or whatever, at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses right now. So only time will tell. And other feelings and thoughts that are coming out of Bethel right now from some of the insiders that we have there. They're saying that they're going to make a big crackdown on Zoom attendees beginning after October 1st. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you've been on Zoom and you love doing that rather than going to the meetings, it's so much easier for you, right? Well, now we have word coming out of Bethel just recently here, just coming in now, that we have word coming out that as of tomorrow, October 2nd, the Witness organization is going to start cracking down on those that are attending on Zoom. That's the platform, that's the internet platform, as you guys know, for listening to meetings. They want you off of that, and they want you coming to the meetings in person. So that's the latest here right now. So we'll see how that goes over. I don't think it's going to go over that good. I really don't. People love Zoom. Man, I tell you, the Witnesses never had it so good. But boy, all of a sudden, Jehovah got his big stick out, and he's starting to whack these witnesses big time. He's got them going back to the meeting. He's got them going out door to door. He's coming up with new servants here to monitor you and spy on you. Well, what's going on with Jehovah? He's getting very untrustworthy lately. I don't know what's going on with him, but I'm glad he's not my God anymore. My God does not carry a big stick, but the God of the Watchtower does. And he's getting that stick out now. And he's starting to whack a bunch of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But at the same time, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but it's been all over the internet. Did you see the picture of that Jehovah's Witness sister wearing pants? Yeah, pants, slacks. And she had a dress over them, but she was wearing slacks. And she was passing the microphone around. She had the job of passing the microphone. And then there was also a picture going all over the internet of a brother out in service wearing blue jeans. Did you see that? Well, if you're on Facebook, I'm going to show it to you. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it. And I think Facebook as well, but at least on YouTube, I know you'll see it. But let me get the picture up. And I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses have always condemned a sister wearing pants, slacks. Never, ever, ever would they allow that. And years ago, back in the 70s, well, basically the 80s, they had some beautiful pantsuits for women. And I thought that would have been appropriate. But no. Sisters cannot wear pantsuits. So let me get this picture up for you. I want you to see the picture. If you're on YouTube, you see it. It really got my attention. Is this it here? Yeah. Oh, that's it right there. I don't know if you can see it that well, but just look at the screen if you're on YouTube. Take a look at that. It's in the middle of the screen. There's the woman right there. She's got high heels on, too. When's the last time you saw a sister in a Kingdom Hall wearing big 3-inch heels? They don't like that either. But I don't know what's going on with the Watchtower. Are they loosening up their dress code? I don't know. But there she is.
Hey, Rick?
Yes, Randy.
I think what they've done, they've just changed their policy now. Since she's doing what normally a brother does, instead of a head covering, she's just going to wear the pants.
Well, you might be right with that, Randy, but it looks awful weird. Now, I must say that maybe it's like another country, maybe, where, the dress code for Jehovah's Witnesses is different. But even then, 3-inch heels. Then she's got some fancy little fuzzy thing around her ankle. It's a little bit ostentatious, you could say. But
I was in Hollywood a few years ago, and I walked up to J.W. Cart, and a woman was wearing pants there. That kind of surprised me.
Well, maybe they're letting their guard down. But I'm going to put another picture up right now. I'm just going to see if I can't make that. Well, I can't make that picture bigger. I wish I could make that picture bigger. But there's another picture right there. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. So we have a brother and a sister out in service. And it sure does look like jeans to me. Tight jeans, blue jeans, the brother is wearing in service. Now, I don't know. It could be from another country where they allow this, but I think Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide, they want to keep their flock at least dressing right. I don't think they want them to look like, worldly people. But to me, that brother out in service with tight jeans on, that's kind of going over the top. But I wanted to bring that up. Maybe what's happening, friends, I think I know what's happening. The Watchtower is in trouble. And, whenever a person or an organization or a business even, or even a church, whenever they get in trouble, whenever things aren't going their way, people make rash decisions. This could be going on right now in the Watchtower. When you have an organization in free fall like the Watchtower, you're going to have all kinds of people thinking different things. And the governing body is going to meet and officials are going to meet. We should do this. No, don't do that. Do this. No, let's do this. Let's do that. They're doing everything they can to preserve this organization. So when I see a woman wearing pants, now the passing of the microphone, I've seen that's not a big deal. When you don't have a brother, you use a woman to do that. I understand it. But to see a woman wearing 3-inch heels and pants in the Kingdom Hall, that is a little bit shocking. That's a little bit shocking. But I don't know what you guys feel, but maybe the dress codes, maybe the witnesses realize if you're going to be getting people today to come and be part of your pure organization, you better let your guard down a little bit. Now, you heard what happened just this week in Iran, did you? The 22-year-old woman who got killed under the custody of the Iranian government, and she was brought into custody because her hair was too long. Well, it wasn't that the hair was too long. Her hair was showing. You're not supposed to show your hair. I mean, talk about dress codes. They have to wear these kerchiefs or burqas or whatever they put on their head. So some of her hair was showing, and they arrested her. They brought her into custody, and somehow she died. There's people protesting as we speak in Iran, and they're all upset with the head of Iran. Of course, he's a theocrat. It's one of the only theocratic nations left on the planet, but he's one of these Ayatollah guys, you know, with the big hat. So they're really coming down hard on him. There's thousands of people protesting in the street. Well, maybe the Watchtower is letting some of their dress code down too, because they know people. Would you want to become a Jehovah's Witness if you had to follow all of their dress codes and all of their quirky ways of doing business? You wouldn't want to become one. So that's why I think the Watchtower right now is relaxing some of their dress codes. And that could be the case, or it just might be maybe people from a different place in the world where the witnesses let them do that because of the different customs and what have you of the land. I don't know, but it certainly seems a little odd to me. Well, anyways, we got more stories to talk about. I mean, they are closing kingdom halls down one right after another. It's a prolific situation. This isn't just occasional. This is ongoing. Every day of the week, kingdom halls are being closed down. And the congregations that go to the kingdom hall that's been shut down, we know what they're doing. They're asking them to compress or to join in with another congregation nearby. Now, some of these nearby congregations aren't as close as you would think. They call it nearby, but it's really not nearby. If you're going to travel, and many brothers and sisters right now are traveling an hour to get to a meeting, friends, that's 2-hour travel time. Takes you an hour to get to the meeting, an hour to get home, because they closed the Kingdom Hall that was 20 minutes down the street. Does the Watchtower have any feelings for these people? Does the Watchtower have any concern that, gee, some of our brothers and sisters have got to be going crazy here with the traveling time? But the Watchtower doesn't care. They'll make the money. They'll make the money and say, that's it, toodaloo on the brothers and sisters. We could care less. If they got to travel further, that's fine. And the gas prices being high too. They're coming down a little bit, which is good, but they're still high. They're still high. So, this is happening quite a bit. And I wouldn't even bring it up if it just happened occasionally. This is happening on a daily basis. Kingdom halls are being shut down, sold off. Kingdom halls compressing. Sometimes because we don't see all of this under our nose, we don't see it all happening. It is happening. It's hard to really believe it all because, when we were, I don't want to sound like an old dinosaur here either, but when we were going to the meetings back in the 80s and 90s and 70s, my goodness, they couldn't build enough kingdom halls. The kingdom halls were so crowded. I had 5 children. My former wife and I had 5 children. Bring 5 kids. And plus myself and my wife, we needed 7 seats. So put that one in your pipe and smoke it. Go to the Kingdom Hall back then. We had a hard time even sitting together. And at a convention or assembly, if we didn't get there at least an hour ahead of time, forget about it. You wouldn't get a seat. But today, seats all over the place. Sit where you want. There's plenty of seats. So we do see a changing organization. But I'll tell you what, it's just so concerning to me that there's still so many people that believe all this baloney, including a lot of relatives of mine. I have at least 50 relatives that are Jehovah's Witnesses, loyal Jehovah's Witnesses, and they still love the organization, and they think it's the greatest thing ever in the history of mankind. And yet they're just going along with everything the Watchtower says, and there's so many witnesses like that, but at the same time, there's so many leaving, it's hemorrhaging. So the loyal ones, they seem to be sticking in a little longer, but I don't think they're going to hang around that much longer, really, especially in view of all of the money lately. Have you been noticing this? Yet there's another money video, on Watchtower.jw.org. They took it down. It's not up there now. But a video that was given for the morning worship. Now, morning worship is every morning when the brothers at Bethel come down for breakfast on the big monitor screens. Some official from the Watchtower comes on and he gives morning worship. And I don't know if you caught this or not. It's been all over the internet this week. But people have got to stop giving money, period. I'm going to play a little clip here. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it. Our other networks, you'll hear it. But I want to share this with you because this got my attention. In the context of what this official from the Watchtower was saying, is if you give money to the Watchtower, Jehovah is going to be your friend. So they're making this kind of a situation where if you don't give money, evidently Jehovah is not going to be a friend. So let me see if we can't get this man on. You'll see him here. So let's get him on. You'll hear him. And let's make sure this is going to work. I'm going to share it right now. Stay with us. I'm going to share it. Let's get him up here so we can see him nice and big. Let's get it big. First of all, I got to get him on here. Hold on 1 second. Let's just go back here. We'll get him. I just want to get the sound up for some reason. The sound's not. Yeah, we'll get the sound. Just give us a second. And what we'll do is this is the man. He's the official from the Watchtower. You can see him right there. And let's see if we can't get the sound up. Where is the sound? Where is my sound? All right. Well, these things happen, but we're not getting sound here. Well, here it is. Hold on. I think I got the sound straight up. All right. So he's saying using our financial means to make friends with Jehovah and Jesus. Doesn't that sound like some of these crooked theological people coming on? Michael Murdoch and the rest of these people. So he's saying here that, and he's a witness saying this, that, use your financial means and Jehovah and Jesus will bless you. Well, listen to the whole thing here. All right, that's the clip. I just saved one little part of the clip. But you got the idea. You got the idea that this man is basically saying, not basically, but he is saying that, if you give money, then that's how you become a friend with Jehovah. Now, does that make sense to you? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me at all. So I just...
Hello, Rick?
Yes.
Is it right for me to talk?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just thinking I'm listening to this. This just sounds like the latest ad campaign of JW.org. JW.org is a company. This is their ad campaign, and they want you to worship this manufactured God that they made up named Jehovah. Now, that's not the creator God, but they made up this Jehovah God. And when they say Jehovah, they really mean the governing body and company, who's ever running the show there. So it's just an ad campaign. And they have so much money already, just this year alone. Different tax laws, different countries, but in South Africa, which is probably one of the better, wealthier countries in Africa, but still there's a lot of poor people there. They were donated this year $91 million from South Africa. Now, whether that's just for the branch in its area, and there's more than one country, but that's a lot of money. And they're just campaigning for more and more and more. They want to build this media center, but they already have the funds to do it. They're just soaking it. And this is their ad campaign to get people to donate to them. It's just like the TV preachers that go out and say, well, if you give money to Jehovah, he'll bless you.